Everybody, what's going on? Brother John here, and welcome to yet another Hangout. This one called God Talk. And what we're going to discuss today is, was the mission of Jesus successful? Was it a success? Last chat we had, we were talking about, I asked the question, what is success to you? We had different answers, and I'll get to that in a moment. So I figured I wanted to follow up with, was Jesus' mission successful? Let me preface with one thing first before I send out an invite, get people in the room. I have 0 viewers right now, so you probably have to listen to this and catch up. Part of the thing that we have to determine, I guess, partly what is success, we have to define what the objective is. We have to define what the goal is. So when we get there, we can say it's been a success. You know, we have a certain measurement of or a standard by which we measure success in all different types of areas, whether it be your work, relationships, planning a vacation, whatever. You know, there are goals in mind, and when you reach those goals, you can claim success. So I thought, I've been trying, you know, this God talk thing has been a thing of mine, like a little side thing I like to get going. Back in the day when we did Stickam, and we had the chat rooms there, used to have a hangout there called God Talk. So if we're going to to talk about success, what's the objective? So I thought maybe we'd start with a little about the objective of this chat, God Talk. And I got some notes here. Basically, God Talk, I want to have a civil discourse about God, gods, religion, philosophies, etc. I want to do this in a kind of a radio format, start with a question, have people answer. My job here is to be host and moderator, pretty much. Do the time management, make sure people don't go babble on and on and on and on. And I know some people get frustrated with that. Hopefully to get people to stay on point. And if I think of any questions while they're talking, have a follow-up question. So that is the pretty much the mission of God Talk, I guess. So if we're going to talk about missions and success, so I'm hopefully we'll achieve that, and then we can claim success. So I'm going to send the invite out. I think some people should have got some invites. Maybe I'll have to let me get the link out for you guys. Let me send the, I know I sent the invite. So give me a moment, guys. We got 2 people out there. Thanks for stopping by. And I should put there'll be a link. We wouldn't babble on and on. Well, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, there should be a link in there. There's the link. Okay. Those you don't know, I don't know if we're being listened to through Google G+, but my YouTube channel is Third Proverb. And I had another channel called Modern Deism, which, hey Prescott, welcome. Just trying to do a little intro here for the evening,
There's the link. Okay. those you don't know, I don't know.
Prescott, you sound like a
You
robot.
plus, but uh,
I don't hear anything.
my YouTube channel is Third Proverb, and I had another channel called Modern Deism, which hey
I seem
Prescott,
to be having a problem. Hold on.
I
I
just
can
trying
back on
to
my
show you
headphones.
you know. Uh-oh.
Reuven, take the mute off.
I don't hear anybody.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Seemed like I had some. No, I'm not. Let me try disconnect. I'm gonna disconnect this. Hold on. Prescott, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay,
What's
I'm
up,
not.
man?
Uh, okay,
I
I'm
think.
getting noise. I'm getting distortion on my side. I don't know if you guys are getting it, so I'm trying to figure out if it's on my end or what.
Well, I'm not getting any here.
Sounds good on my end, man.
Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. This kind of sucks.
I blame Reuven.
Okay, you know what I just heard, John? I heard you, and
I hear
what it
you.
sounds like over here is you're going in slow motion. So let me reload.
I don't
Let me
know
reload.
guys getting
I'll
it,
be
so I'm trying to figure out if it's on my end or what.
Well, I'm not getting any here.
Sounds good on my end, man.
Okay,
Prescott, you got your mic open. We can hear everything.
I blame Reuven.
It's no different than
okay.
it usually is.
You know what I just heard, John? I heard you.
Prescott, you're lagging so badly. I need a flying DeLorean and a doctor to catch up to you.
I don't know, reload. Guys getting it, so I'm trying to figure out if it's on my end or what.
I'll come back.
Well,
I guess that's that. Oh,
okay, see ya.
how you doing, Rob?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. You?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, I put
Thinking
together
thoughts.
what I thought was a really good discussion on this concept of moral, objective moral guide, is it, I suppose? I did it on YouTube, and the videos that I needed as evidence didn't actually come through on the thing, so I've still got to get used to this Google environment. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, the best thing, if you want to share videos, I would recommend the program called ManyCam.
Well, I have found one. It's called XSplit Broadcaster.
That could work.
Yeah, it does actually. I actually quite like it. What it allows you to do is actually segment parts of your screen off, and you can sort of switch them as if you're switching cameras.
Right,
It
exactly.
seems to work really neat, and of course it's free, so it's good in that regard.
How's your day today, Jordan?
Going pretty good, or it went pretty good. I guess the day's over. My daughter turned 2 years old today, so we had her birthday party.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was it a big celebration?
We had about 12 people over. Not as big as last year when she turned a year old. Last year we had a bunch of people over.
Yeah, what do they say, the terrible twos?
Yeah, well, she started those at about 15 months. So she's been in terrible twos for a while, and she hasn't even turned 2.
Rob, I don't think I ever asked if you had kids.
Yeah, well, actually, I've got 7.
Oof.
Yeah, and I'm on I'm going through. My youngest is 14, so I'm going through the last of that puberty battle, and I think we're winning. I'm not sure.
Right, yeah.
But it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, it's probably now I think I've worked things out, and I've got no more kids to practice with. Life's cruel.
Oh, there's Prescott. How you doing, man?
I'm fine. How does it sound now?
Good.
Much better.
Yeah, I just rebooted, and just in case.
If people have lag issues, there's like a little antenna-looking icon, like a cell phone type of thing in the middle of your window. If you lower that, that fixes the broadband issues if you're a little laggy. Welcome back, John.
John's still muted, or
Oof. I think I'm hearing what you were hearing now. I hear a bunch of static.
yeah, it's like his microphone's active.
Does anybody hear me?
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
'cause
I know.
can somebody say something? Because I do not hear anybody.
Testing.
Text.
Testing.
Testing.
1, 2.
Testing.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Shit. All right.
You should have had this all set up
I'm
before
gonna
you hit
do.
live.
I'm gonna reboot. I have to come back and give me 2 minutes, guys.
Just
Yeah,
fix
'cause
your.
I do have a couple things I wanted to how to plan this out for tonight, and I'm glad I got some of these rooms. So give me a couple minutes. I'm gonna reboot and see if that works.
John, you got to put your headphones on your head.
Yeah. And you gotta make sure the settings are up right too. He might have the wrong microphone on, or the wrong speaker.
Oh dear. All right.
You guys usually wear headphones
Probably
when
oughta-
you're.
Yeah, well, you had
it's-
him on earlier.
It's better to wear headphones just so you don't get an echo, but you know, what can you do?
Well, when I'm talking, do you guys hear an echo of any kind taking place?
No, you're good.
Okay, no. Well, it's because I don't get an echo on my end unless there's an issue somewhere else. But so
Yeah, once in a while we'll get like teeny boppers come in here blasting their Justin Bieber music, and you know, stuff gets pretty bad after that happens.
yeah, nice cover. It's if we hear your music, it's really teeny boppers just dropping in. Got it.
Hey, where's that antenna? What were you meaning by that antenna icon?
Well, it's kind of like an escalating bar or like a bar graph right in the middle.
Oh, okay. So it's within the context of the Google Plus. Yeah, okay. All right, I can see it. I know what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Anything on the agenda, guys?
I was just watching the Name of a Rose.
Is that a movie, television show?
Sean Connery, plays a monk somewhere, I think in the 12th century or something like that, solves a murder mystery at a remote abbey in the middle of nowhere. So it's probably about 20 years old, maybe more.
Sounded like John had something planned out for this evening, and then it went all to shit, basically. Oof.
Oh, well, you'll either work it out or reschedule, I suppose.
Is Reuven still alive? He's still with us?
Reuven, 12:45. Yes, no, I did. No, you're not. Hey, how come, hey Reuven, how come you don't join the chat or the voice conversation?
He's anonymous.
No microphone, he says.
Yeah, but why?
You know, he's one of these like Guy Fawkes wearing guys. You know, with a mask.
Right. Yeah, but why?
I don't know, mental issues, I suppose. I don't know.
I'm hoping he's hearing me. I'm just waiting for his answer.
3 years ago, he ordered a microphone from Amazon, and it hasn't arrived yet.
That's not a why. That's an excuse. Hey,
I never understood why people want to keep their identity safe online. I mean, it's like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. Well, fundamentally, I think all of that tracks back to ego issues. Sorry, Reuven, but I think it's true.
I would love to see. I love to have like a nutcase show up at my door from some hangout. He got mad at me. You know, I'm gonna come to your house. It put some like excitement in my life. You know.
I think I got a few Muslims that want to come to my house.
Oh, they probably issued a fatwa on me too, man.
They're interesting characters, those dudes.
I do. Go ahead. What's up, Rob?
I was just going to say, I think I've got a logical explanation for this God thing. I've come up with a theory.
Can you hear us now, John?
Hallelujah.
I bet it was the settings. What's up?
Can you hear
us? Okay. We're live. Good.
Yeah, about time, man. You had me sitting here with my thumb up my ass.
Well, you know what? This kind of goes with the lesson learned here, right? On the road to success, you're going to come across some failures, you know. So
don't give up.
Never give up. Yep.
Who's the felon free?
Well,
What's
welcome
up,
everybody. Glad you can make it. I don't know if you caught any of the beginning, and what I'm trying to do with God Talk is try to do, you know, as we've seen in a couple last chats, propose a question and then discuss it, that kind of thing. And I just want to act like host and moderator. You know, if we're going to talk about success, I think we have to have an objective and a goal. And so then when we reach that, we know that we reach a certain level of success. So I figured, you know, if I like doing this kind of stuff, and I want to do some kind of like format, video format or something like that. So where I just act where, you know, I want to, my job would be to manage time, you know, some people in this room especially have a tendency to go on and on. So some kind of time management, stay on point.
Talk and I'll shut up.
You know, hope to try to stay on point, and then if I, you know, think of any questions, follow-up questions, or any kind of clarification, you know, then, you know, that'll be my, you know, my thing. So with that, last hangout, I proposed a question of what is success to you. Now, Rob was there, Prescott was there, John was there, Jordan, you were not there. Cerebus, I think he went out before he got a chance to answer questions. So, Jordan, I want to start with this, and then lead to what we're going to talk about with did Jesus actually, you know, succeed in the mission, or his objectives, or God's objectives, or whatever. So, first, Jordan, yeah, what would success? What is success to you?
I would say that success is when you are when you become self-sufficient and you don't rely on other people for your, I guess, well-being. I mean, other than like customers, but basically what I'm saying is you don't have to beg for money or borrow money all the time. And but it's when you get to a point in your life where you feel that you have, I guess, accomplished the big things you want to accomplish.
What if you want to be a sponge?
You mean a ne'er-do-well?
Yeah.
Not very. It's like an oxymoron almost.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said originally, Prescott.
I
Says, what if you want to be a sponge?
A sponge. Oh, I see. Okay, I see the chat. All right.
Jordan was saying that his definition of success was self-sufficiency, which I think is a good definition, but there's a lot of people who actually prefer to rely on other people, and for them, they'd probably see success as, they wouldn't see Jordan's definition as a good definition for them.
Yeah, it's definitely subjective.
I'm sorry, Jordan?
I said, yes, it's definitely subjective. Like if you want to be a leech, and when you become a successful leech where you don't have to work because you have, let's say, a website that has a donate button and you have all these, you post all these terrible things that happen to you, then that person has, in their own world, achieved success because they now have residual income from this donation site where all they have to do is post sad stories about themselves and say, donate here.
In my defense, I did disconnect.
Well, that's kind of interesting because I guess with my question of asking everybody what is success to you, it kind of gives me a little insight into how you're thinking, but before I rehash a little bit the last time, I want to ask Service if he wanted to. I want to ask you, what is success to you?
Well, I see it as two different things. You have personal success, which is kind of what everyone's talked about already. You have your goals, you meet your goals, and you're happy about it. And then I think there's a more a broad view of success, which I would measure with how good someone did. The impact of their life on other people after their death.
Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of people say almost the same thing. Last time we hung out, somebody said that success was about flourishing. I know there was a gentleman, TM, in the room, and he gave a very great story. I mean, how he went from homelessness to now owning a business, being self-sufficient, just bought a house, and he did this in a matter of a few years, and he also mentioned, and I would agree. I mean, I was in line with him there. It was about doing what you love, and if you were able to make a living at it, that's like a huge plus, and also helping others while you're doing it, because through his business now, he's helping other people. They're looking to him for advice, and he's gained this, massive subscription base. So that was a general, and that seems to be a general theme here about being self-sufficient. Meeting your own bills and stuff like that. And then again, like Sarah was saying, how good of an impact you have. Now, Preston, I'm going to give you another opportunity because I know, I know that you said that you didn't consider the definition of success, which I found interesting. Despite that, monetarily, you seem like, hey, monetarily I'm doing fine. I never really thought about success, and I found that interesting because most people in America seem to have this definition of success as material wealth, So maybe you probably I think you probably actually thought about it, and maybe you wanted to.
Well, I'm Canadian, so I don't have to worry if I have any health care issues. If I need a bandage, I go to the doctor. He puts a bandage on my boo-boo, and so I don't have a lot of stress like Americans do over health care. Uh, anyway, but the definition that I came up with was kind of what I was saying about Jordan's, is that it really, my definition is of success is to have achieved my goals, whatever they happen to be. And so I can go from feeling successful, or at least feeling like I've achieved something for a period of time, but then go into another period of time where perhaps I don't, and then not feel like I'm successful at those times. Anyway, that's just it. It was a little more than kind of my off-the-cuff remarks last night, which that's it.
Okay. I kind of wish we had. We have no Christians in the room, as far as I know.
I can pretend.
And you want to pretend? Okay.
Well, I'm a fan of Jesus, so I'll be your pseudo Christian if you like.
There you go. A pseudo Christian. Okay. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
Gnostic, Jesus. That's doesn't fit the definition of Christian.
Correct. I agree.
So so moving on to that point then, I guess one of the first things we'll have to define, and maybe Rob will have a different take on it, being he's looking at it more of a Gnostic approach, but we will have to define what was the Jesus's mission, and what was accomplished, and I think there's also it's kind of a two-part thing, because there's a certain, probably, some would say there's a certain accomplishment that happened at that time, if this Jesus existed and was crucified and resurrected. And then is this kind of mission, is it ongoing? I mean, apparently it is for 2,000 years, and is it accomplishing anything? Is it better or worse, or so. I think we're looking at basically part of the mission. We know from John 3:16, right? For God so loved the world. Everybody knows the scripture. That's, I guess, part of the mission. Part of the mission of Jesus was to pay a price or a ransom due to a debt of sinfulness and wickedness, initially caused by God's first creation, Adam and Eve's disobedience to God's very own command. And this happened by, of course, eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So, the part of the mission of Jesus here is, most Christians see it as one of redemption, saving oneself, being a sacrifice. So, I guess I'll leave the floor open if anybody wants to add to that, or.
I'd like to make a correction if I could.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna leave it open.
All right. So what you just said then is really the empire's view of the world, and it's by design. So I hold that Jesus Christ is really just an empire story, based on a true figure, Jesus the Essene Jew, the righteous teacher from Qumran. So what you're talking about there is the model that says that we're born into sin, or we're born bad, and basically life's all about trying to seek this redemption. Well, that model was really started in the book of Isaiah, when the Babylonians, the Persians, who I hold that they wrote that book. Fundamentally, what they did is they made the Jewish folks feel guilty, and gave them this sort of guilt complex, and that's really the same thing that you're talking about in the Bible. They're giving the believers this guilt complex, and then they follow it up with, these are the things that you need to do to get to redemption. But you'll find, if you look at those things carefully, they're really about servicing the empire, not really the religious context. Now, getting back to your question on, you were talking about, success. Well, I think what success is easily defined innately. So innately, we have this inbuilt, or we have. You've probably heard my two wolves story. Well, I've sort of gone a bit further with that, and I think that they're driven by two primitive survival instincts, one a selfish one and one for the herd.
Do you want to start, Rob? Do you want to start? Can you just give me like a couple of sentences? Then, if maybe you weren't in the room that time. So first, let me get your definition of success.
Okay.
If you could do it like less than a paragraph, and then we'll move on to the Jesus mission. And okay.
I'll try and be succinct. I understand the time pressure. Success to me, there's an innate component. So, where people say that the moral compass is subjective, I disagree with that totally. The moral compass I find is innate, and it's those two wolves again. But those two wolves sit on top of, because that's just mythology, they sit on very primitive instincts, survival instincts, where one goes for survival and advantage of the self, and the other one goes for survival and survival of the herd. And you can see those two paradigms play out in the animal kingdom, and they play out in the human context as well, but within the framework of an individual. So success, to answer the question, success, you'll find for most people, particularly mature age people, will be about the good wolf story. It's where you become more altruistic, if that's the right word. And the other measure, so I'm saying that that's innate and it's objective, all right? And it's about being a member of the herd, and that gives you joy, love, and all those fulfilling feelings. But it's because you're playing out that instinct about being a herd player. The other element, though, that I think is important is the awareness thing. So you're successful, I think, in the life journey if you actually reach what the Buddhists would call enlightenment, but a full understanding of how things work, and to such a degree that you feel comfortable you can explain, and I don't mean by belief, but through logic and knowledge, you can explain, so the success measure is knowledge. You can explain how things work. There you go. That's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing that in under a paragraph. Okay. So basically, overcoming evil, and I'm getting overcoming evil, doing good, being selfless, and serving the community, having an awareness of that. So I get that.
But I'm saying it's innate. I'm saying it's part of who we are as humans. It's not something that an individual has any control over. It just exists in the human. And so I can relate it back to the Gnostic Jesus.
Well, I wanted no. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
I guess I was trying to, when the initial question was success to you. I think what you're trying to explain it, this is how it is for everyone, and I can understand that. Everyone's got their viewpoint. But I guess I was looking for something more of a personal for you.
Because I think I've actually achieved that. So.
Okay. So then, now we pretty much everybody knows. I mean, like I talked about before, the basic Christian, what most Christians believe as the mission of Jesus. So your Gnostic Jesus, what was then? Is that in Gnosticism? The way you see it, Jesus' mission was different, and if so, if you could keep it briefly, how much of that do you feel has been accomplished, and so on?
All right. So Gnostic Jesus is quite simple. I mean, the Gospel of Thomas only got 114 sayings, so there's not a lot to it, but it's pretty simple. All it basically says is know thyself, and then take damn responsibility for yourself, and don't. Whereas the Christian Jesus story is about externalities that you can use as excuses for good and evil. The Gnostic Jesus says the good and evil, that's us, that's who we are. Is it successful? It's not played out fully yet, because I think for it to be successful, to see the three belief traditions, because I think belief fundamentally is a curse on humanity. So if for that to be successful, you'd have to see the collapse of the bullshit stories and see how humans related, having this new perspective on who we are. That's it.
Anybody haven't? Anyone else have anything to say? Oh, come on! So did Prescott? Prescott, you're gonna be the quasi-Christian here for the day? Prescott?
Sure. Why not? Success. Listen, go to Vatican City and see how big and beautiful those buildings are. I mean, we're talking about an extremely successful operation, worldwide domination,
Yeah.
in collusion with Ashkenazi Pharisees, no doubt.
Yes.
And so I think that the mission was extremely successful by that measure. However, if I were to put on my fundamentalist hat from years ago, I would have to say that the basic theology of Christianity is that what the law failed to do required Jesus to come in order to fulfill the law, so that through his atonement he could achieve righteousness for believers. And the righteousness was actually measurable. And the real question is, have Christians actually lived up to that that mission statement that was given to them? Have they actually become what Israel did not? Because that was really the intended goal at the end of the day, if you read the book of Romans. And in which case, I would say that by and large they failed.
Oh, hey, I don't want to interrupt here, but I mean, unless he re-blocked me, he unblocked me after that last hangout that happened.
Who's that? What are you talking about?
Nephilim free. So it's someone else, unless he just re-blocked me for some reason.
I don't know. Okay.
Oh, my friend Nephilim. We can't get our hands on him, can we?
He wants to come in, but he says he's blocked.
Who, Nephilim?
Yeah, he says he wants to join, but someone has him blocked.
No, not me. Get him in.
Yeah, I hear you. Wish I had a magic wand.
Okay. Let's see if will a personal invite get him in from me or what?
No, if someone has him blocked, he can't come in.
Yeah, this is what I hate.
How do we tell? That's worth looking at. How do we tell if someone's blocking him?
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess.
I don't even know how to block people, so it's not me.
Unless it's Jess. Jess, are you blocking Nephilim?
I doubt that. Jess is in his room a lot.
No, Jess just said not me.
So I mean, here, process elimination. I can't see anybody here having him blocked.
I'm gonna just Google.
The evidence is the evidence in the case is really building up against Nephilim. I don't know, you know. So I'll try to give him a personal. I'll send him a thing right to his.
I've been to a couple of his live streams. I mean, I have no reason to block him.
If you go to that link I sent you and you go to Actions menu and you go to View Blocked, you can see all the people you blocked. So
cool.
If anyone go double check and see. Hey, you know, sometimes it happens. You might block a fucker and you don't even know, you know?
Yeah, I don't have anyone blocked.
I have him added under. He has two names. Is a Nephilim, and then Evan something, and
Nope,
he's in.
not blocked. I haven't blocked them. So
Okay, sounds good.
I've got no one blocked, and I have Nephilim in my.
It's
Collection.
definitely Nephilim then. He must have someone blocked.
He's in my circles, so he's not blocked if he's in my circles, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
That's true.
He's in my circle as well.
So
I did say that avoidance will be a strategy that might pay out.
Does Reuven have him blocked? He might have him blocked.
Yeah, I reckon Reuven's done it. Hey, where is Reuven? Is he still there? Are you still there, Reuven?
He might be watching reruns of the X-Files or something.
I don't block people.
rerun.
Yes, you did.
Capcom will travel.
What you drinking over there, TP?
you talking to me?
Yeah, what you drinking?
I don't know. Can I do this on air live?
Oof.
You can actually
Copyright
do almost
infringement?
anything.
It won't offend me. I'm not a Mormon, so I'm not going to be offended. So.
Well, okay, maybe yeah. I guess I'll guess
Looks like a Hanukkah.
There you go. Bingo.
As
I
the token
recognize the
system,
color.
I must
Is that hateful that I could just distinguish that?
You know, I haven't told anyone, but I'm actually Muslim, and now I have to declare jihad on you.
Oh, oy vey. Hey.
Don't
Okay.
care.
Let's get back on topic, I guess. Here, I don't know what's going on with Neff, so that's for another discussion. But okay, Prescott, you're supposed to be playing the Christian here.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. I tried to stop you from doing it, but didn't see it. Trying to save your soul, man.
Does anybody here have a problem with? Does anybody here believe that mission was not accomplished? I'm sure everybody in this room knows.
Well, I mean, personally, every time I talk to the Christian, it seems like there's a different mission every time, you know. But it seems like an overall, it's like trying to convert people to Christianity, and doesn't seem like it's working. It seems like more and more people losing their faith. So I don't know.
But what we don't know is we don't know if that is just something that is a temporary setback caused by I would say the introduction of the internet, and so it is having an impact on people. The question is, down the road, is there going to be some kind of reversal of that we don't?
Well, I mean that's a double-edged sword. I mean, with the internet, you can spread information really quickly now. I mean, wouldn't it work for the Christians as well, spreading the message of Jesus Christ even more faster than even the printed Bible did?
Well, true, but first they have to get over the fear of it being the beast.
Well, yeah.
Right. Once they are willing to accept the technology, they will utilize it. The TV is the perfect example, and movies are another example. So once they embrace the technology, that will come around.
Nah, I disagree.
Well, it took them it took the Christians a while before they realized Elvis Presley wasn't the devil. So it might be a few more years.
Sure. Yeah.
They have a real problem with open forums. Everything's got to be in the closed context. I mean, even when you go into these chat rooms with the guys, as soon as you bring evidence to the table, they really want to boot you to the curb. They don't want to have that open discussion on evidence because, well, firstly, it can challenge them, but it also risks their little herd and their relationship in the herd. And they don't like their little herd being troubled. So I don't think the internet's a place that they'll ever venture to. It's too open. Unless, of course, it gets controlled. That's just my observation.
It seems like by the time people get old enough to talk about it on the internet, they've been through so much science class, they've had enough education that you can't just beat it into them.
Nah, that's right. Yeah, it's got to be. It's an indoctrinated thing, and it's full of, I call the Bible now the holy HOLEY Babel, because there's just so many holes appearing. I mean, if you go out and look at the scholarship are against Isaiah. They're saying that that's a cookbook, and now they're starting to say the same against Daniel. And if you go back further, the scholarship will say that
when you say a cookbook, what do you mean by that?
Exactly that it's a fabrication. It's a story that's made up for
a fabrication. A cookbook is a recipe with a bunch of for a bunch of things that you want to eat, and you have a.
You gotta give him a little slack. He's Australian, so
That's
he's late.
Exactly right. Because over here, if I said that term, and the Australian folks would understand. So
he cooked the books.
Well, that's like an accountant that cooks his.
I understand what you're saying, but there's a difference between a cooked book, i.e., accountant cooking the books. Yeah. There's a difference between an accountant cooking the books and something that, because the problem that most people have with how people treat the Bible is that they talk about it as though the entire book was written by God, and that is offensive to some people. But even if Isaiah was written by 4 different authors, okay, while it might be challenged whether or not Isaiah specifically wrote the entire book or not, if there doesn't exclude the possibility that those documents nonetheless were, I won't say ancient in origin, but that they couldn't be seen by a particular community as being a useful book for their holy scriptures. That's not that it's a cooked book.
No, it is a cookbook. And why I say that is this. It's presented as being written by a guy, Isaiah, in 740 or 745 AD. You're supposed to have started his writings, and he wrote for 62 years. Well, that's not true. None of that's true at all. What actually happened was that, and I spoke to a guy, he's on the internet, who seems to know a bit about linguistics and the structure of writing and the likes, and his conclusion was that it was written by or under one governance or one person, and that fits my theory. My theory is that the Magi that worked for Cyrus the Great actually wrote the story. So when I say it's a cookbook, I mean that it's a total fabrication. It has no religious context at all. What it's about is about passing on guilt for the historical actions of the Babylonian and Syrians as they tore through Judea and owned Judea, and then retelling that story within the context that it's a god that sits up on the top of the firmament in a throne in the image of an emperor, looking down on all these little grasshoppers, and this god that's up on this, this fake god, he's blaming all these people that couldn't possibly have done anything worse than those Babylonians and the Syrians. And so they set that scene, and then the second part of the story is really about, all right, we've got you conned, so now this is your mission. They line up the mission for them to head back to Judea, build a temple, and set up for the invasion going into Egypt later. So that's what I mean by a cookbook. It's absolutely cooked.
Rob, your theory of Isaiah sounds very parallel to like your theory of the Gospels themselves, and that basically they weren't even written within a religious context. Is there any religious writing in the Bible that you think actually was written in a religious context, or is basically the whole thing just made up at different times to lead people?
No, I understand the question, and the answer is there is a religious context and there is wisdom in the Bible. So before Cyrus got his hands on it, Cyrus to me was the real change, towards serving the empire as opposed to the religious context. Before Cyrus, what we know from the academic world is that for 100 years, the archaeologists and Egyptologists have basically given up on the Exodus scenario because they just can't dig up anything to validate it. what they conclude is that the Canaanites were the precursors to Judaism, and in the Canaanite tradition we find that that's polytheistic, which is the same as what the Greeks and the Romans and even the Aboriginals over here had multiple myths, you know, that gods of the gaps sort of scenario. So that sort of makes more sense at where people were at that stage. So if we take that as true, we look at the Canaanite list of gods, well, lo and behold, we find Yahweh, who Cyrus uses and whacks up on top of that dome. And we also find Al, which is really Elohim. The connections, it flows onto Elohim. So it looks like, and there are other aspects that I'm sort of skimming past.
I really want to see if we could try to tie this back to Jesus somehow.
Okay.
But Jordan, I don't know if you had something to follow, wanted to follow up with him.
Oh no, I'm quite all right with getting back on the topic at hand. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
I really wish we did have a Christian in the room. So I mean, I'm gonna, okay, I'll try to play a little bit Christian here. So I'm saying, Rob, man, you're saying Isaiah is all fabricated. How could you say that? I mean, look at the prophecies for Jesus in there. The virgin birth.
Yeah, but,
Isaiah 53 and stuff like that. Are you saying that Jesus is not the Messiah? He didn't.
That's
You're
not.
not. Wait a minute, Rob. Wait a minute. You're going to tell me you're Gnostic
I
Jesus?
got an answer.
Oh, you have to let me finish, Rob.
Okay, I do.
Let me have my little rant a little bit, okay? Because I'm trying to play a little bit of devil advocate, okay?
Yeah.
So now you just threw me off track. Nah. All right. So yeah, Rob, man, you're Gnostic Jesus. Are you saying he's not the Messiah? He wasn't prophesied in Isaiah. He didn't.
I'll help you. I'll help you out, John. I'll help you out. So what you were asking me,
Rob. I like you.
Finish, Rob.
If you interrupt me, I'm gonna have a 3-strike rule.
You lost your train of thought. I was going to help you out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Or unless there's a little lag here, okay? Because I was getting my train of thought again, and it's like I'm talking to you. I say, listen, it's Gnostic Jesus again. You don't believe he's the Messiah. You don't believe he was prophesied in Isaiah. He didn't die and for my sins and resurrected from death, so he can give me eternal life and save me from hell. This is not this is not your Gnostic Jesus. What does your Gnostic Jesus do for me?
All right. Ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, so what you were saying was that as a Christian, you're representing the Christian platform. You were saying that Isaiah predicted a lot about Jesus. Well, what I'd say to you is that that's absolute rubbish, because you would be for that to be true, we would have to believe that prophecy was something, or at least in the biblical context, because I do have a dilemma with Nostradamus I haven't solved, but in the biblical context, you were asking me to believe that the stories about those Assyrians and Babylon, which I know are historically evident, were really about something that happened in Jesus' time, and I'd say, no, that's not probably likely. What I'd say to you is more likely is that when Rome sat down in 70 AD after they trashed Jerusalem and the Essene community, they sat down and they wrote those Gospels that you're referring to, and because they had all that information available to them, they drew on that to build the story. So I'd say that you've made a mistake, or I'd say that you've been misled. And the reason that the empire did that to you and to all the succeeding generations was for the same reason that Cyrus did it to the Jewish faith. It served their purposes, and it kept Rome very much in the driver's seat of the people's religion.
So are you saying that Jesus did not physically exist, that this Gnostic Jesus, the one spoken in the Gospel of Thomas, is just some prefabrication also? It's just a concept you made? So
No, I'm not. I'm saying that he's a real person.
Did exist? You believe that someone named Jesus really existed?
Yes, I do. Well, I don't believe it. I feel very confident about it. And the reason I say that is that I read all of those sayings, and I'm not aware yet of any precursor to those sayings. So they seem to belong to the period. The dating says between 140 and 140 AD, and also you've got to remember that 61 of those sayings actually appear in the Bible. So the sayings themselves seem to have some valid context. But when you actually analyse the sayings for what they are, which is something that Christians are discouraged greatly to do, and I think for good reasons, the church doesn't want them examined. When you do examine them, you find that they talk about that two-wolf story that I keep going on about, and about knowing thyself, and about knowledge about the self, and self-awareness, and then taking full responsibility. It's not about, going
But
out
I
and
didn't feel like Isaiah was rubbish, and that a lot of the stories and the Jesus story, was fabricated. I'm a little confused.
Sorry, just rephrase that again.
Okay, so you believe? So let me ask: you believe the Gospels, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, besides Thomas? You believe that they're telling you the truth that this, Jesus existed?
They are, but they put a twist on it, and it's written to. It's propaganda, right? So they've written it to serve Rome. They took the Jesus story, and because it is truly a good wisdom. So it had value. It made it an easy sell. They were competing strongly. Like the Old Testament had a lot of opposition from the Greeks, so it really served purpose to have a New Testament because the
Okay,
Greeks,
well,
Greeks
I don't
really.
know. I don't know if it's me or I don't. I feel like you're not answering the question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Rephrase it.
I don't know. Maybe it's me. Okay. What evidence do you base the proof that Jesus Christ existed, the person Jesus? What evidence? If you believe, if you just told me now the Gospels is just fabricated, it was for Rome. I'm sure you got this little take on Atwell's story of the Caesar's Messiah, that kind of stuff. I've heard those out there. So if that's the case, then according to you, then this guy never existed. So
No.
now I'm asking you, what is your evidence for the physical existence of at least a human being named Jesus Christ?
Well, firstly, he's not Jesus Christ. He's Jesus the Essene Jew. He was the righteous teacher from Qumran. We have evidence that there was a righteous teacher, but we don't know who that specific person is. It's not disclosed. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have a trio: the righteous teacher, you have the wicked priest who was Agrippa the Great, Herod Agrippa the Great, and then you have a liar. Well, that was Saulus or Paul, who has a relationship with Agrippa the Great. And Paul's agenda was just Old Testament. But anyway, so
I'm sorry, what was that last one? What was that last one?
Saulus, the
Source?
liar. Saulus, Saulus. Now that
Yeah, and he was.
he's
You
in
said,
Josephus. He's in Josephus. And Jesus is also mentioned in Josephus. Plus, we have those 7 churches in Asia Minor that were established that Paul Saulus was evangelizing against. We have the sayings themselves.
where outside the Bible?
Sorry, say again.
Outside of the Bible?
So we have the sayings, the Gospel of Thomas themselves, right?
No, you mentioned the 7 churches.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, you're saying about Jesus mentioned about the letters to the 7 churches, right?
Well, Paul Saulus was evangelizing these 7 churches. What he was doing,
No,
he had to.
I know. Where I'm getting at is because I'm very well aware of all the churches in the Bible. Okay,
Yeah.
but now I'm asking you now: Are we going back to the Bible now? Because are you using this as proof now that there was a Jesus existed? How could you use now? You're going see. This is where I'm getting confused, Rob, a little, because you're dismissing the Gospels, but you'll take the 7 chapters of Paul. We're on speculation of.
Okay,
Maybe being a righteous teacher from.
I get it. I understand now. I understand your confusion, right? Unfortunately for
Is it
me,
just me, or does everyone else here need some kind of clarification?
No, no, I understand you. I do understand where you're coming from.
All right,
Would
thank you.
like me to try and help?
I hear you, John.
Yeah, I understand. So I'll try and do it. Now, this is where I'm going to get into bloody trouble again, but just chop me off when you've had enough. I'm going to give you the 5 events that occurred that corrupted, and I'm going to say Book of Isaiah and leave that. That's 1. Book of Daniel, 2. The third one involves the Jesus story. Jesus knew about the Pharisee corruption, right, that came down through the Book of Daniel and all of that. And he lived at the Essene community. Now, he was like a John Lennon, so he stood up against the Pharisees and they knocked him off, right? So he's out of the picture. But
I need some kind of text, Rob. Where are you getting this? A text? Because I'll tell you, I mean, one of the other things I'm having a problem is using Josephus, and I think others would agree that is poor evidence for Jesus.
Well, why is that? Because it does specifically talk about Jesus.
Well, I don't know if he and probably Jordan can definitely clarify on this, or Preston. From my understanding, Josephus was like born the same year Jesus died. So
well,
yeah,
I can.
His writings are like over 100 years ago. There's also some evidence that there was some corruption to Josephus, given the certain literary styles and stuff like that. I don't think Jesus by name is mentioned. I think they mention Christos. So I don't. First, wait. Let me just get some maybe further further clarification from either Jordan or Prescott if they want to add, or someone else.
Go ahead, Preston.
Well, I was talking with Ruben. Carry on.
Unbelievable. Should I kick you now, Prescott? Wait a minute, you can't do 2 things at the same time. Okay.
A bit of missing information for you, John, is that, and again, you've got to remember that I'm sitting outside basically everyone, really. I'm deducing from all the evidence a different story that no one's sort of come up with thus far, but I concluded that Josephus was really fictional and he was part of a fabrication so that they could rewrite the Jewish history as a propaganda exercise. Now, Cyrus the Great did exactly the same thing with the Book of Kings in his day, and I can give some evidence to support that claim.
Oh, Rob, you just did it again to me, Rob.
What's that?
Now you just told me Josephus. Am I the only one who heard this? Now you tell me Josephus is a fabrication, but yet you want to use Josephus. You want to submit Josephus as evidence for the existence of Jesus. This is what I'm like.
No, but there's valid reason for that. Anyone that writes history, whether it's fabricated or not, writes it for an audience. Do you agree?
What John's looking for is some concrete proof, like God writing it on tablets or something.
1 second. Let's explore this challenge that John put up. So, just
I'm saying
John,
I can at least give it to the Christian. The Christians will tell me, most of the Christians, it's the Bible. It's the Bible. It's the New Testament. You know.
John,
and we can still challenge him on the existence. But we have I'm trying to because we're trying to. I'm trying to understand now. Because I'm trying to understand your Gnostic Jesus, and I'm trying to. I'm
skipping over an important point, though.
Your Gnostic Jesus will differ.
I'll let him finish, Rob.
Yeah, I know, but hang on a minute. You're skipping
I can't hear John if you're talking over him, bro.
Well, no, wait a second. You're skipping over a very important point. You're missing some valuable context.
The only thing I'm missing is what John's trying to say. I can't hear him.
No, that's not true. Wait a minute. Wait a second. What John said was, how do I use Josephus as a valid record if I'm saying that he didn't exist? Well, what I said in response, and John ignored it, but what I said in response was, when you write historical information, whether it's fabricated or not, you write for an audience of the day. Is that not a correct statement?
Right, and he's looking for something other than coming from the audience, Maybe a guy, maybe a historic named Bob or something that wrote about Jesus one day, like something other than what we usually get. Yeah,
but you're still ignoring the fact that when you've got to remember that Josephus, that record has been preserved for quite a while and regarded by many as historical evidence, right? What I'm just trying to say to you is you can still write historical context as the author, but put a different pen name on it or put another person. If you don't write in a historical context, then your audience will not buy your story. Makes sense?
You get what John's trying to do, though. The reason why we know Julius Caesar existed is not just because the Romans wrote about him, but other people as well. So we can conclude evidence that this was a real person. With this Jesus guy, the only evidence we have is, people either fabricating it, like you're saying, or the same people in the same group. We're looking for something outside. Like a guy named Bob wrote about Jesus one day. You got a Bob story for us?
Yeah, I understand your point, but you've got to also remember that they actually deliberately wiped out that Essene community. So,
well, do you have any historical evidence, secular, that proves this point? That's what John's trying to get at.
Yeah, well, you can't pull a rabbit out of a hat, so you.
Well, then what's the point of even discussing it then? We're just speculating here.
Well, no, not really, because if you look at the sayings, if I go back to the actual sayings themselves, they ring true to the human condition. So whoever the person that authored those sayings. Now, in those sayings, it does say that a guy called Jesus said these things. We also know that in the New Testament, those very same sayings say that the same person, a guy called Jesus, said these things, right? So I think you're being a bit premature. What you would have to do is what I did, go and read the sayings and say, do they actually ring out as true and valid?
Well, Rob, with the everyday Christian will say that the Bible, Jesus said certain things because the Bible says so. It says it in the Bible, okay? Now, this is where the confusion is, because you said that you believe that a human being named Jesus existed, and you based it on a certain amount of evidence. And I'm finding contradictions here, because at least the Christian will rely on the Bible and tell them, well, that's my thing. This is why I believe it, because whatever. And now, but initially you said the Gospels were a fabricated story.
Correct.
Josephus, a fabricated story.
Correct. Book of Acts, a fabricated story.
All fabricated story. But so, how do you come to the conclusion in your mind that a real person, Jesus, existed, if all we have is all these fabrications, made-up stories?
You're missing one point. You're missing the actual texts that are credited to this person and the quality of those texts in terms of the spiritual story. And you could not appreciate that without reading it.
The Gospel of Thomas, you talking about?
Correct. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Jordan, would you like to address this at all?
But the gospel, Rob, the Gospel of Thomas really doesn't tell us anything about Jesus. How do we know it wasn't another Jesus? I mean, and as far as these things being these 61 things or whatever of the 114 logia that are repeated in the synoptics, if you read, I think Preston could probably tell you, in the teachings, like in the Talmud, by some of the Jews of the same time period, are preaching like pretty much the same sort of stuff. So it wouldn't be that crazy to have this thing attributed to two different people. I mean, I don't understand why you're letting the Gospel of Thomas carry all this weight when it tells us virtually nothing about Jesus, who he was or where he was from or anything.
Well, no, I don't think you're right there. Firstly, the sayings open with an interesting line, and it just basically says, whoever understands these sayings will lose the taste of death. And it actually delivers on that promise. That's actually a phenomenon that Plato observed amongst wise philosophers, and that's, you can go to the Republic and I can even quote you that line where he actually draws that conclusion. So that's the opening promise that you get when you're reading the Gospel of Thomas. So it's philosophically valid, it's also claims to talk about knowledge, not belief. And what I found when I looked at all of the 114, they actually ring true. They're knowable aspects of the human condition. So we have a sound philosophical treatise, if you like, that is then used, and within that treatise they use the term Jesus. And the early people, scholars, so there's two camps on the dating, right? There's an early camp, and then there's a later camp. The early camp are 40 AD, earliest date, to up to about 100, and then the late camp are somewhere in the middle there and up to 140 AD. So you've got most of scholarship putting it back into that particular era. And then we also know that other scholars came up with Q-source theory, which basically says that the Gnostic Gospels were constructed on, a sayings list of some form. And what we know about the Gospel of Thomas, and it can be verifiably tested, as I said before, it's 114, so it's got the larger content, and there are some anomalies that make it look like it actually does be the early one. The Gospels, they draw on only 61. The 53 that are excluded are very telling because they talk about the personal spiritual nature. That would be a... Oh, sorry, I'm going on.
The anomalies you were talking about, which you said they were in Thomas. I mean, I don't have it in front of me. That would suggest that it was an earlier gospel. Can you tell me those anomalies?
Well, the first one is the one, there's saying number 39. It says, Jesus said, the Pharisees and the scholars have taken the keys of knowledge and have hidden them. They have not entered, nor have they allowed those who want to enter to do so. As for you, be as sly as snakes and simple as doves. So, to me, that's all relevant. That's a relevant paragraph, the two parts together. When we look at the Bible, we find that those two parts are split over two of the Gospels. So that's one. If you actually look at the Gospel of Thomas, you find that after a while of soaking up the story he's trying to tell, you find that they fit very neatly in order. Firstly, he makes the promise, then he gives you the pathway and a caution, and then he gives you the God, how he defines God, and it's just a very logical, neat package. At least in the early, I think about 11 or 12. I haven't sort of bothered to think beyond that, but I thought that was enough for me.
I actually have something that might. I got a question for Rob, and it might help him if he's looking for other sources than what's in the Bible. Have you looked at any of the other Gnostic Gospels?
Yeah, I have. I looked at the Apocrypha and John. That really struck me as interesting, and that actually led me to an interesting guy called Theudas. Now, Theudas is a guy that connects Paul with Valentinius and Simon the magician. So that sort of led me to conclude that Valentinius was a Pharisee trying to usurp Rome. But anyway, that's a whole new story.
Well, I got a list for you here. I picked up this book last year, and I've never read it, but it's been sitting here on my desk. It's the whole entire collection of the Gnostic Gospels.
Yeah.
And it has. Have you looked at the Greek non-translated fragments from Thomas?
No, I haven't. Not that I can. I just sort of stuck with the main article from the Nag Hammadi library.
Oh yeah. Then there's the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Philip.
Yeah.
The Gospel of Truth, the Egyptian Gospel.
Yeah.
The Secret Book of John, the Secret Book of James, which is the apocryphal one.
Yeah.
Then there's the Dialogue of the Savior, the Second Discourse of Seth.
Yep. I'm aware of those.
And there's the Book of Branch and the Round Dance of the Cross.
Yeah, gotta go. Sorry, that was the wife ringing. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was all of them. You were wanting sources that weren't everyday
Yeah,
sources.
I'm familiar with those. I looked at them, and my end conclusion was that that particular library probably belonged to Valentinius, and was what he based his platform for his drive for Pope. He tried to become Pope, and that was on the back end of the third of the three Jewish conflicts. And they found out about him, and then the next thing you know, in 166 AD and 189, you saw the two popes' positions vacated. I think they were vacated because Rome stepped in and, was a bit pissed that their boys weren't really holding a tight rein. So they replaced the guys that were, because, replacing the two seats at the same time wouldn't have come from underneath. There would have had to be some third party that would have had to have kicked those popes out. And that happened 166, and then it happened again at 189. And that was, the 189 was Commodus, and he's another junior emperor, and 166 was his father, I think, the last of the five good emperors. So my conclusion was that what the Romans did is they actually confounded what I call true gnosis, which is the Gospel of Thomas, with the stuff that comes down in the oral tradition, the Kabbalah, the Book of Enoch, all that sort of stuff, and the Apocrypha of John tells that type of Zoroastrian type of religion. And in fact, in the Apocrypha of John, it specifically says, if you want to check what I'm saying, go look at the Book of Zoroaster. Now, this is something the Pharisees have tried to hide.
I'm going to just play a little bit of something that Reuben said in the chat window with respect to, he was quoting, I think, from John, where Jesus said that the Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys of acquaintance and hidden them. They have neither entered nor let those who want to enter do so. I'm sorry.
So he's talking about John. I was talking about Mark and Luke. I think they split them across the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, I guess maybe I should have just played this.
No, that was okay. No, because that's part of this journey. I've got to stand up.
The idea that Thomas borrowed from Matthew and Luke. F. Bruce writes, the saying, the Greek original of which is preserved fragmentarily in P.Oxy. 655. 3 is practically identical in its first part with Luke 11.52 and in its second part with Matthew 10.16b.
Is that what Reuben really sounds like? Damn.
But he's right about the split over the two, and I conclude that the split is the logical separation of well, see, I see the combination as in context. The split, I think, is a conscious effort to soak up the Jesus story. So if we look at the Magi story, right, which only appears in Matthew, and if you know or you view that the Magi were responsible for corrupting the Pharisee religion, well, then you can see why it would be advantageous for Rome to present an image in their religious text of these three magi bowing to Jesus, the Christ of Rome, right?
Rob,
I got a boatload of this stuff, but anyway.
I know you do. Are you consider yourself a Gnostic?
No, I don't. I don't like the idea of labels at all, because I just think we're people, that have got two wolves, and we just need to know about them. If anything, if I had to wear a hat, it would be one I made up myself, and it would be anti-egotist. I'm sort of, even though I recognise I've got ego, I think ego's the most significant problem to human society, and I'd like to see the end of it, including empires. So that's the only label I would put on myself.
So are you saying, is your Gnostic Jesus, according to the Gospel of Thomas, the ultimate anti-egotist?
Yes.
Now, not only because of the sayings is it, and here I get, now this is where we get into the muddied waters and the confusion, okay?
All right, we're going in for a
Um,
swim.
if ultimately, the ultimate selfless act is to, die for another person, um, and I don't think it talks about that in the Gospel of Thomas, and you're saying the Gospels in the Bible are fabricated.
Yeah.
Um, what do you, one, is you said already, you said Jesus is the ultimate self-egotist. Um, why,
Why what?
well, I mean, would you say the ultimate selfless act would be to die for another person?
Yeah, I mean, if you take my context and you know a bit about the rest of my research, I'm putting my life, I guess, on the line with these Pharisee types, but
Well, I'm trying to get an idea of your
but
Jesus.
I
That's
don't,
the
but I
thing.
don't want to. I don't want my life to go. They'll have to take it. And Jesus didn't die on the cross for people. What he died for the more of the revolution. He stood up to people, and they didn't like it, so they bumped him off. I think that's more the truth of the story. It's Rome that's telling the story the way that you're prescribing it.
So Jesus wasn't crucified?
Well, I've read somewhere that he was actually strung up to a tree in one story, but I honestly don't know. But what I do feel strongly about is the Pharisees killed him. That it was their agenda, because we know that they kill their own. If we just have to go back to the days of Antiochus IV, and
You're an
what you
agnostic Gnostic. You're an agnostic Gnostic. That's the conclusion I come to. You really don't know about this Jesus, so okay. And I can accept
No,
that.
it's not true. I think I do know, and I think I've got a heck of a lot of evidence to back up what I'm saying. I mean, at the end of the day, it is deduction, but you've got to remember that the other side have been trying to hide this story, because it really affects their power paradigm. It's a big deal to them, huge deal. Anyway, that's what I say.
I'd like to play the role of a Christian apologist just for a moment, since
Please
we
do.
don't
Go
have any
ahead.
in here. Since we don't have any in here, and John's already given a crack at it. So, uh, Rob, the problem as a Christian apologist that I see with your theories is that your theories are so detailed with names and dates and exactly when this happened and why this happened. But yet it seems like most of our sources that we actually get our information from, as far as the origins of Christianity, you've pretty much thrown all of it in the trash, and what you've gone with, what you've put all of your faith and hope in, is this Gnostic gospel. That we don't, if there is a core that goes back to Jesus, it's been it's had so many layers put on top of it, we could never recover it. And this, the earliest fragment we found of this is considerably later than our earliest fragments of the New Testament. So why should we buy your theory and not? And something else is that you do quote scholarship when it's convenient. And then when it's not convenient, you have your own theory to fill in the gaps. But I do
Yeah.
hear you say scholarship says this, scholarship says that, but it's only when it fits. It's only when it fits your pet theory.
All right.
So that go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. I understand, because it's certainly a difficult argument to have. Um, you've got to perhaps. You see, I carried the study on, so I went beyond 325 towards current, and the story didn't stop. Basically, you've got the wealthiest people in the world, the kings and the queens, because let's face it, the birthplace of all kings and queens is the Roman Empire, or empires of some form, if you follow their history. Um, they use these religions, right? And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that these religions are deliberate, and even to today I'm saying it, that these religions are owned by the empire, as it were, and it serves the empire. That's its purpose. So these are the people that have most of the money. if you look across to the Pharisee side and you follow their story through, what you learn about the Pharisees is they're specialists in money, they're specialists in trade, they're specialists in ambassadors, and they're specialists in media, and particularly media ownership. So you've got on that side of the fence, and of course that then gets basketed as conspiracy theory, but there's enough evidence to back that up. Hey, sorry?
It is conspiracy. That is why people see it.
No, there's evidence to actually back that up.
Well, of course there's evidence, but it's not evidence of conspiracy.
No, the Rothschilds family were the biggest bank.
I couldn't resist.
Don't forget the Rockefellers.
Well,
Yeah,
no, true. They're in them. Absolutely.
No.
Your banking system was really corrupted in 1930 by breaking out the reserve banking model, because that's just.
Let's not get off topic. Let's not get off topic.
Well, no, let me answer that question though. But the Reserve Bank is a very fundamental separation of the money from the politics. They did that in the 1700s with the Jewish. They had a role called the court Jew. He held the money, and the royals held the power, and that's the way that they kept a bit of a tight rein on things. Well, that happened in America, and what you guys find yourself in today, and the money story doesn't tell any lies, you're in deep debt, and what you may not know is that J.P. Morgan bought out Carnegie Steel in 1900s, and what an investment strategy that was, given the wars and how they use steel.
But that's why I asked you if you were a Gnostic, because it seems like there's the secret knowledge that you have managed to put all this stuff together that make for you a very compelling argument. And this is the thing that I personally have a problem with conspiracy theories, and have had problems with it, because it seems that there's not just a few things that are conspiracy theories. It's a conspiracy theory about everything. Conspiracy theorists can't stop with just something that actually might really be a conspiracy. Everything has to be a conspiracy, and when they go down the road of everything having to be a conspiracy, I have to assume that there's something else going on.
No, there's not.
Oscar, you're telling me JFK wasn't killed by a magic bullet? Come on now, you're breaking my heart.
Well, JFK was killed by.
You might have a hard time believing that a Canadian Mountie in Toronto shot JFK from Toronto with a super high-power gun with a super high-power scope on it.
Oh, is that how it happened?
And that's why that story never became...
And he was probably paid off by a Jew, right?
Well, we do have Jews here.
Yeah.
Look, Canadians are too polite to lie, so that has to be the truth. So I say we need to invade Canada.
It is. Well, don't
but you see, what you guys are doing is you're entertaining you're buying into the idea that these things are too far-fetched, they can't be real.
We're just not buying into
looking at the evidence.
That all of this stuff could possibly be all connected.
Rob, you know how many times I sat in a hangout or been talking to someone, and the end of all of it is someone with a hook nose did it all. I mean, come on. I mean,
oh no, don't say that at all.
It's the same shit, you know.
No, that's wrong. And I'll tell you exactly why. And that's a big trap. You know, all this anti-Semitism, that whole concept is just like the conspiracy theory story. It's to avoid. No, seriously, it's to avoid the discovery process. It's to say, don't go there, you're being anti-Semitic. Well, I say, no, let's have a look at the stuff. Let's just lay it all out on the table.
And that's what anti-Semites do.
The Jewish people aren't guilty here.
Well, that was what I was saying, Rob. I'm not afraid to go anywhere. I mean, if you want to, say anything you want, I'm not going to be offended. I don't care. But what I'm saying, Rob, is that I heard it all before, man.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is I'm pretty sure it's 100% right.
I know you are.
No, I don't doubt that you actually believe it.
No,
You're
no,
like-
don't believe it. I know it to be pretty
You're like
much true.
you're like a Christian who has taken the Bible, has taken the book of Isaiah, and he looks at it and he says, "Look at all these texts that are fulfilled in Jesus' life, and we can read it in the Gospels, and it all makes sense." Now, that's just a person selecting the text that they want to use to prove what they believe or what they want to believe.
Okay.
And it's no different than going through Wikipedia or going through the internet and finding a bunch of articles, and from that you will filter out the things that aren't working for your theory, and you will allow things to pass through that work with your theory, because that's the way the human mind works. When we're reading stuff, we are not really very good at being self-critical, and we're not really that good at finding the things that don't fit how we see things. When we read things, we see things in the things we read that affirm what our biases are or what our beliefs are, and
Right.
and that's just how we function as humans. It doesn't matter
Well-
whether you're a Christian or a Gnostic or a conspiracy theorist. We all do it. I do
Well,
it.
I hear what you're saying, but
I know there's a but. There
All
always
right,
is.
no, wait, because you're assuming, you're making a lot of assumptions, and they're based on the way that you perceive things, right? And I just want to correct you on that.
Press stop assuming, man.
Yeah,
Stop
that's
doing
right.
that.
Let me allow
Bad
me
rule.
at least to put some evidence out there. If we're to take what you're saying, your assessment of my my theory as being a conspiracy, if we're to take
Well,
you,
it's only
Wait a minute.
because everybody else. that
okay,
is
that's okay. I don't take offence, so don't worry.
No, it's only because
Let me answer.
everybody
So
else, everybody else who espouses the same thing calls it a conspiracy.
let me answer. So, what I'm saying is that because it's hard to keep all this shit in the head. What I'm saying is that if we buy into what you're saying, then we have to shift back to accepting as part of our reality prophecy, or at least the likelihood of it. Prophecy, miracles. What other sort of fabrications come with this story? But a whole bunch of weird shit, right? If we go the other way, my story doesn't have any of that weird shit at all, and it all. No, it doesn't.
Why don't we welcome Gretchen to the room? She's
No prophecy allowed. It's
Has-
not a place. No belief has a place.
Has any weird shit happened in your life?
hold on a second. Let's just welcome
And
Gretchen to the
now,
room.
Yeah.
and now it's time for a word from our sponsor. When you're thirsty, it's time to open up a new cold one.
Gretchen, the topic of the evening we're into was, is the Jews behind every element of society? Are they the ones doing it?
No, that's not the topic.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, okay.
No, and we're gonna get back on
Pharisees.
the Pharisees.
track here.
No, the empire as well.
I'm sorry, Rob. I can't distinguish from one hook from another, so they all look alike.
Because Rob, I think what we're trying to is you're making the same. I don't think you can see this. You're making the same mistake as some fundamental Christians do. Because I'm pressing the issue about, I asked, coming back. I mean, we're trying to establish whether Jesus' mission was their success, and we can't even get past your idea of who or what Jesus was, because I'm getting contradictory stories. First you think he physically existed, and you're using evidence that you clearly admit that is a fabrication of this Jesus.
No.
Wait a minute, let me finish my thoughts. So we can't even get past it. So I just need to answer one yes or no. The Jesus that you have in your mind, however you you figure out this Jesus character to be in your mind,
Mm.
did he accomplish the mission that he came here for? Yes or no?
Well, that's a little unfair, but the answer's no, because he got his story ends in 33 AD and only re-emerges with the discovery of the Nag Hammadi text, and no one follows it. So his mission isn't even accepted in the wider populace. When you talk about Jesus, you're talking about the Roman story, and that's something that I believe is a fabrication.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. I want to greet Gretchen. How you doing, Gretchen?
Hi, how's it going?
Good. I know you're Eastern Orthodox Christian, and it's
Yeah.
Good that we have some Christian representation here.
Okay.
Represent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught like some of the topic what we're talking about initially last week, about success. So maybe
Yeah.
perhaps. Oh, wait a minute. Are you still in the room? Okay, because the chat
Yeah.
says you left. Okay. So first, if you can answer for me, what is success to you? And then two, if you'd like to address whether or not Jesus accomplished was his mission successful?
I'm glad that you put it that way, because it does confuse me when I hear successful. What connotates that? What denotes that? How would that be decided? And by whom? Is that from this group or that group or what have you? So can someone identify some of those elements? Have you discussed that?
The elements of success?
Yeah, like is there an agreed upon one that we're using for this conversation?
Well, that's why I ask each person, what is it to you? So that would be my first question.
Okay.
What is success to you?
Well, I guess it would depend on any Thursday that ends with a Q. And what I'm trying to say is, I think in the simplest terms, I can always say yes, because that's just a good place to start with a yes. It's always good to start with yes, because you're not going to usually get too many places saying no. But depending upon where you want to go with that yes, it's no. But I think you can chalk that up to a lot of different things, and I think part of it has to do with humanity of people, and that I think there's a lot expected of people, and that we're just really nowhere close to the ideals that people think make up whatever this or that. So that's how I'd start to answer that question.
Okay, I'm not clearly.
Are you answering the question that was sent in the invitation?
That was Jesus' mission a success?
Yes. That's why John was confused. I think what John wanted first was to know what your definition for your life was in terms of how do you judge success. And then
in my own life?
He was going to go to the next question. Am I right?
Just in my own life. Not did he... Oh, okay. Thank you. That's more simple. How do I judge success in my own life? How much I'm able to give to others and not think of myself, and whether I'm grateful. Whether I'm grateful and forgiving. That's how I know if I'm successful or not.
Disgusting.
I know. I hear it all the time. I'm a horrible person.
Sounds like a socialist. Oy.
I understand. I'm a horrible person. I have no illusions. If you do, I'm so sorry. That if you have an illusion that I'm some nice gal or something, I don't know.
If I may, let me follow up, Gretchen, with that for him. Now, there are, and knowing that you're professing Eastern Orthodox, you're a Christian, and how should I phrase this question? You mentioned a couple aspects: forgiving and being forgiving, which kind of stuck out for me, and selfless. Are these attributes you think are success for you? Is it because of your Christian beliefs, or is it personal?
I think I would say that yes, it's personal because I've always been that way, regardless of what faith I was practicing, and I've hit up on 3 now. It is always the same. It is consistent. The words used are different. The ideas behind them are different. Human kindness is human kindness. Respect is respect. Those are not changeable. So, and when I think about people who talk about different kinds of moral arguments and whether someone's atheist, theist, this, that, da, 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 it really, you know, it's a personal thing whether you're going to be a person that gets along with other people and seeks to, you know, contact and reach out towards others and interact, and the way that you have that social dynamic and what it means to you. So I think that that also reflects within what culture that you grew up or live in.
Okay, fair enough. I guess now the question of the night. Do you think Jesus' mission was successful?
Okay, this is when I get to the big yes and the little no. So I say I start out on yes because we always have to have some place to go, and that there are going to be a myriad more of places to go if we start on yes than if we
Can
start on
I
no.
can I just ask real quick, what was Jesus' mission, just so you can clarify from your perspective? Because every Christian I
Exactly.
ever met gives a different answer to that.
Yeah, and you know, I hope that, you know, just like with Jews, you ask every Christian and there's 16 answers, you know, because how it's lived and what's expected in society, and you know, I just could go on too long, is so very different, and particularly by each different sect, that they want to see a particular effect within the community, or how people act or interact with each other, that proves success. Like how a Quaker would do it would be very different than how a Roman Catholic, say for instance. So when I look at it, you're going to get this gushy answer of love, okay? So just, you know, bum it to the side and we'll step along. The second part of it is no, and I'm so very sorry that it's no, because people would rather argue, fight, steal from one another, this, that. And then what happens is, to me, as far as I see it, the method overrides the message, right? But here's the funniest thing, because I do believe that people have a penchant towards goodness, that I don't believe any kind of original sin, nothing like that, even close. I think that the heart strives towards connection. And so with that being the way that progress and bends all the time. But if we look at the whole big picture, it's like that thing where they say, you know, none of us are free while one is oppressed.
You said that people usually steal and lie and cheat, but then you said that people have a goodness in them. How do you how do you come to that conclusion? Because it seems like you're saying one and the other.
Yeah, because people grow and change and learn from their experiences. And they may try something out that's really not of their own character, or they may be in a situation where of the options, this was chosen for some reason at that time to be the best answer, but it might not be something that you would choose again. And you know, I really have a problem when I hear people say, you know, once a liar, always a liar. Once a cheater, always a cheater. It's like, give a person a chance to grow. You know, have some expectation that's, you know, you have to extend that friendship. You have to have already forgiven that person and see in them the best of who they are and bolster that to have them reflect that back to you. And I think that that's as much in friendships that I experience as much as being a mom, because I'm always going to strive which is towards the highest part of their character that they want to achieve whatever the goal is with. So, you know, I think it has to do with maturity and responsibility and, you know, where you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So, and how much you think of whatever you're doing is of your own decision, which I think is kind of a weird sort of, what's the word I want to use? Illusion, I guess, is good for now, but I don't think that, you know, it's the Matrix or something.
So I don't know if John wants to jump in here and ask more questions, but you seem like you said that Jesus' mission was peace, basically, in other words. Sum it up real quick. Peace and love, right?
No peace, love.
Oh, just love. So
yeah,
what was the point of obviously Jesus coming, you know, living, you know, 2,000 years ago? And couldn't he have done it the second time, the first time? You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm trying to say?
Are you talking about the
Because
return?
obviously you believe that he will come back once again, right?
That's what you're asking about, the return?
Yeah. And obviously when he comes back, the second coming, obviously...
Wasn't that just because...
Well, he's going to make everyone love each other in the second coming, right?
No,
or
because
do you not accept
why
that?
would he... Oh, no, I think there's no making. I mean, okay, if you've got children who bully one another, and I mean just in a gentle way, not like horrible or whatever, but they're working out their pecking order. Do you know what I'm saying? Children work out a pecking order for themselves. And if you get in the way of that, unless they're, you know, scratching their eyes out, you really have taken away their dynamic to learn who they are with each other and who they are to themselves and who do they want to be. And I talk always against the idea of automatons, that we have no choice or anyone's being made to do anything. Have you ever seen when a child will go to visit a relative who they're just not often to see that person, maybe it's a holiday or something, and so the parent will say, go and hug auntie this and so, and the child, you know, recoils back a little and knows socially that they're being pressured to do this and that they must say they love them or let them kiss the cheek, and it's like, I don't know this lady. I mean, does anybody remember that experience when and you're walking up to the, you know, auntie and she smells funny and she gives you a kiss and it's weird, you know?
Are you saying that there's strife and ills in the world because we're trying to work out a pecking order, a hierarchy?
No. Well, maybe part of it, but here's the thing. Like, so then that auntie has gotten that hug, that kiss, but what does it mean? Does the child really love? I mean, is that how they really connect? Because if a child is told to hug or to kiss me, I'll always say, don't worry, you don't know me well enough. We'll do later. Let's go play. Because why should they be pressured? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's the same in the universal parent, which if you want to call father, right? I'll offer that up as an example. And there's a lot of parenting that goes on in my head that I think somehow I relate to that universal parent stuff.
So what you're saying what you're saying is that when the return comes, he's not going to make people kiss auntie and want to. Right. There's still free will, and that's something that people will have to choose to do. Yeah. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah, and I don't know if that would be backed up by the church or not. So, you know, I can't really speak on the church's behalf.
I'm a little dumbfounded though. But why do we need the son though for the father's sake? I mean, why can't we just get to that part of not wanting to kiss auntie? Why do we need, you know, Jesus? I guess I don't know.
You do and you don't. I mean, for what I'm saying that for is if you've never met or if you were at a time when before came. None of that is necessary, and there are all kinds of descriptions in the Bible that talk about those who will be in heaven that weren't baptized and never became Christian and this kind of thing. So it's not necessarily that cut and dry sort of sinner's prayer kind of a thing. It's that moment where you're exhausted and you just, in an exasperated exhale, say, please help me. Just and not even necessarily to anything at all but the universe. It's like you relax, and then all of a sudden there's a person there to help you.
So,
and that's where it happens.
interrupt here. I don't want to cut in on this little.
No, please say
Who's this,
something.
Hey, is that Cameron?
No, this isn't. This is actually Owner Supreme, Mike Phelps.
Oh, hey,
Mike, you cut someone off again. I'm gonna have to cut you off. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey,
But
Mike,
Gretchen, what's your denomination, or do you actually follow a strict denomination?
Yeah, Antiochian, Eastern Orthodox.
Okay, so Orthodox, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Orthodox Christian, yes.
Do you have a church you attend?
Yes.
Getting kind of personal here, Mike.
I'm just.
And yet I'm answering his questions rather than when G-Man grilled me. I wonder why I'm talking to this.
Well, we're getting a little too personal here. This is a lot of.
Now. Cut. Chop. All right.
It's
yeah,
fine.
Mike. I don't know if you know if you read the description of the room today. We're trying to establish whether Jesus' mission was successful. So we're getting Gretchen's viewpoint on there, and which
To be fair, to cut in right there, how would it have been successful if there's actually people that are non-believers? If one person is lost to the fires of hell, technically his mission wasn't a success because the soul was lost. He's a shepherd man.
Doesn't Jesus say that the lost sheep is the greatest sheep among them all?
Doesn't he actually say that searching for the lost sheep is actually one of the things that the shepherd must do?
Yeah.
Does he actually have a story in Matthew that actually outlines that?
What's your name again? I'm sorry.
My name's Mike, Thunder Supreme.
Mike. Hi, Mike. Well,
Pleasure to meet you.
first, I would say there's no one lost. Everyone goes back to the center of all creation.
So you don't believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven according to the Christian faith?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And
Hey, hi, Cameron. How you doing?
Unfortunately,
Hey, I'm doing all right.
so does that Eastern Orthodox. That's Eastern Orthodox theology.
So it's universalist.
Hey, Cameron, I recognize you.
All right. So, Gretchen.
Yes.
So, in your belief, Eastern Orthodox Christianity, everyone will be saved?
If you want to use that term, but wouldn't it sort of be more like, no, yeah, we never really use that. Like, because obviously people will ask us, are you saved? We'll say, I was saved. I am being saved. I will be saved. That it's a constant progression, because that's what all of it is a constant working. You work out, you walk out your faith through. That is what faith is faithfulness. It's not just having this thought in your head and it's magical. It's how do you exercise it? How does it change the ways that you interact with people? Because otherwise it's just a theory and an idea or a philosophy, which are fine. But how is it put into practice?
Well, let me ask you, me as a agnostic atheist, somebody who doesn't believe in God,
Good.
When
Don't change that.
When I die, assuming there is a heaven on the off chance, this is obviously all hypothetical to me.
Sure.
When I die, whether that be in 80 years or 10 years or whatever, when I die, will I go to heaven as a skeptic?
Of course you would. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
well,
who wants somebody that agrees with them all the time? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you think that God is a bunch of yes men and they need to stroke his ego? No.
So let me,
He
Gretchen, let
wants
me.
you to think. He wants you to use your brain.
I hear you, Gretchen, and Gretchen, I'm going to try to keep. You're the only Christian in the room that I'm suspecting. Okay, so, and I don't want this to be a
It's fine.
gang up match.
No, no, I don't even feel that way. I feel more at home often, rather, with atheists and agnostics than I do people who identify as Christian. More commonly. That's why most of my friends happen to be.
Well, the thing is, here's a problem I'm having is that in your belief, and I don't know the Eastern Orthodox doctrines well at all.
Surprised you a bit.
Um, I see so many similarities. I mean, I was raised Roman Catholic, and you know, all the
yeah.
robes and all the garb and all the gold they all seem to have in common. But um, if they believe or you believe that everybody will be saved, how do you account for
Yeah.
scripture in the Bible that
Says
obviously say
otherwise.
say otherwise? I mean, like I think it's in Matthew where liars and drunkards
Yeah.
and adulterers they will not inherit the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
How do
Way to the
you
lake of fire. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Okay. First of all, RC with you, right? And I'm EO, yes? We're the smells and the bells, right? I mean, it's the high mass, it's the divine liturgy, that responsive call back and forth that creates this community. As far as that goes, when you want to look at hell or purgatory or stuff like that, EO doesn't have purgatory, but we don't describe hell or heaven in the ways that even as a Roman Catholic or anyone who's a Western Christian, obviously going into Protestant and so forth, would have a reference to. So I'm going to backtrack really quickly. And does anybody remember the description of when the Jews were leaving and going through, and by the ark was always this light, this fire, right? That they kept going along with. That's the guiding. Well, if you have fire, it will burn away the dross. So, have you ever had jealousy? Anyone here? Tell me about your jealousy. Has anyone here ever been jealous of anything or anyone or whatever?
I'm way too perfect.
That says.
No, never.
What? Okay. Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you how it
Cerberus is
for...
practically perfect, like Mary Poppins, you know?
And, I'm jealous of my girlfriend because she gets to make all the decisions.
All right.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so I'm sure you work out the dynamics in some way. Anyhow, oftentimes if you have a jealousy towards someone, it's for something that within yourself that you see maybe a possibility of that hasn't necessarily come to fruition yet for you, and boy, that timing is irritating to you, right? You know, you'd rather be having it now than later, right? So if you can have joy for someone in regards to what they have achieved and not feel a competition, you're going to be in a better position to work towards whatever that achievement might be. So you know how people will choose a friend who has characteristics that you also want to emulate. You know, like somebody who's really generous, or somebody who whatever it is. And by being around that person, you might pick up some things, and they'll support in you those things too, because they see that in you. And that's kind of similarly the way, because if you are in front of someone who has something that you do not, they don't feel the loss that you do, but the loss that you feel that is bothering you, that gives you that feeling of angst and jealousy, that tension, which you could use to propel yourself forward. Instead of taking that responsibility, you'll, exercise it against them, right? Because if you're not thinking of it yet. Well, if you are in front of love and you hate it, that would be hell. I mean, really, if you can't accept love when it's offered to you because it must be in such and such a fashion, and you don't recognize, the myriad of ways that people express themselves and extend themselves to others to, have a connection, and you miss that because it has to be done in this way or that or whatever, that's hell. That's disconnection. That's that's missing the mark, which is more how we use to describe sin, like that archery term. If you've heard that, that's more the point. And that, no, everyone has to cycle back. You got to go back, which is outside of time,
Yeah, I find it hard sometimes to believe people like yourself follow the Judeo-Christian God, because you're such a nice and loving person, from what I can tell. So you're that kind of person that I just kind of want to hug. Like,
oh, I'd love to give you a hug too.
and I find
and kiss your wiggly nose. That is too stinking cute.
Thank you. But I serious, I find it difficult to believe that people such as yourself follow such a.
Look, it's offensive. I absolutely agree with you. It is embarrassing that I am a Christian, and I'm not saying that to patronize you. I really mean that, because people have such a discomfort. It's done more separation than connection, right? But when you introduced yourself to me as atheist agnostic, I think you said, right?
Yeah,
and
that's correct.
Said, good, stay that way. I really mean that. And that's not because I want to see you in hell. No, I want you to be exactly who and how and where you are. And some people, I think, are ones who understand God in a way that makes it necessary to have a religion or something like that, but that other people are far more critical and actually work better in their lives to not have that mysterious, superstition-y fairy tale business happening, because it's not efficient. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying you're a deist, Gretchen.
It sounds like deism.
My
God,
proud.
you are not a grown. Yes.
No, my husband's a deist.
From what you're saying and how you're
Orthodox.
acting,
My husband is a deist. No.
I'm sorry?
I'll tell you why not. When I was catechumenate, the words, okay, here's how I can say, how do I know I'm EO? Okay, let's take the most annoying ones. You got your
Are you
hell,
saying EO?
you got your, what?
I'm sorry, Gretchen, what are you saying? Are you saying EO is short?
EO, Eastern Orthodox. Okay. So let's just take your biggies, right? Okay. You got your heaven, you got your hell, you got your original sin, you got your penal substitutionary atonement. What else are some of the most annoying ones that are Christian, that get on everybody's nerves, that are just offensive, to you as a human being? Wherever those are, that's what I found in Christianity that was so offensive. But with the other, it wasn't that way, and it was shocking. And if you read anything that's Eastern Orthodox, you won't learn that, because even the words being used in your mind, if you haven't been taught directly by a spiritual father, you will still in your mind more than likely be using Protestant or Roman Catholic definitions, and so the sentence has a completely different outcome. And then it really does become that, I'm sorry to use this reference, but do you remember with President Bill Clinton, that depends on what the word, what was it? What article was it? The or do or something.
What is the definition of is? Yeah.
Right. Okay. I don't mean to say that it's a semantic argument, but unfortunately it looks completely opposite. And it's funny because obviously Eastern and Western, la-da-dee-da. But yeah, I never ever thought I would be a Christian because they were completely offensive to me in every way. And that was my experience because I'd not interacted, with any EO, and then it was a shock. It was a big shock. Because I thought I'd go there and I'd find, homophobic people who were closed-minded and, just fill in the blank. Whatever Westboro Baptist you want to consider, that would be the most horrific you could experience going to any kind of a church or something. And I didn't find that, and that was shocking. That was really shocking.
Did anyone have a follow-up question for Gretchen before I ask? Because I wanted to address Jess for a moment.
Well, do you Eastern Orthodox people follow like a certain version of the scripture, or like what Bible do you guys?
Septuagint.
What's that?
Septuagint.
Yes, I've never heard of that, but.
Okay, and that's from the Greek. And the other one, because I'm Antiochian, I usually tend to read from the Peshitta, and I was reading from the Peshitta since round about when I got married, so let's say, yeah, it must have been at least 92, 93. So the fact that I, read this and it was Syrian and the fact that I ended up in an Antiochian church is like, oh, no wonder I understood it when I got there because I had been reading it all along, learning what those idioms and axioms are. And I grew up, speaking Hebrew, so things resonate different in my head. I can't do a KJV. It just does not happen.
So you don't really believe in the devil like most other Christians do, then, do you? Yeah.
No.
I mean, it doesn't go through the Greek, so you wouldn't have Lucifer being Satan.
Right. But even if I did, why would I want to blame something on somebody else that I need to take responsibility for?
Hey, go on, sister.
Amen.
Amen. So, but then, okay, then why the purpose for Jesus?
Well, no, here's what's even funnier. Why then do, Eastern Orthodox spit in the eye of the devil when they, get baptized and, get chrismated? Why do we still have that vestige if we don't really believe it? Because the definition is different. And it's not like a semantic game, I promise you. It really is weirdly different. But what was the other half of that question? Why Jesus, right? You asked that?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe that you should take responsibility for your own actions, then why Jesus having to die for this apparent sin?
That's penal substitutionary atonement. So that is not part of the theology of Eastern Orthodox, which I always thought was one of the most offensive marks of disgusting example of behavior of a human, let alone would be for a deity. It's about as disgusting as would be the mob. You don't have a choice. There's no choice in that. If you're given that, no, that's not a choice. That's not a free, open-hearted choice. What was that?
I just said that's Christianity, the mob.
Well, and here, you know what? I'd love to listen to you because I know that you know all this history, and I think it is so funny because you were talking about the Roman what's the word you used? Popularity or propaganda machine, right? Wasn't it?
Propaganda.
And I love that study. I in fact, I bug a lot of my Christian friends with it because I think it's so valuable to look at the historical context of it and not to take it for granted.
Oh yeah, I mean, once you get rid of the empire and the ego, on a personal level, get rid of the ego, and on the societal level, get rid of the empire. The world's a shit better space, you know.
Right.
And I like your comment about personal responsibility because that's spot on.
And that should be for every human being. I mean, that's without religion. That has nothing to do. That's being a responsible person in society.
But that's also,
I hope.
You know, that's also equality. That's the backbone of equality, that everyone has their own, not only their own rights, but they also have their own responsibilities to meet. So.
And
I have
towards
a question.
their own integrity.
I have a question for Jess because I haven't given him a chance and want to ask him the question. And Jess, if you can speak loud and clearly, and if you give me a definition, what is success to you, Jess?
It's a journey from one time to another. Like a journey, you start out like it's a goal. You do that journey and you have obstacles to overcome during that journey before you come to finishing your goal. So it's like a journey.
So you define success in just the journey itself?
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't success have to be some kind of goal achieved or some objective?
Oh yeah, goals like I put like a journey to.
Like if you picture yourself, you know, what trying to say? Trying to imagine in your head the successful Jess.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you?
Looks like me on top of a mountain. It's like I want to achieve a goal of reaching the highest peak of the world. And I still have to do that journey. And I had to go through obstacles, of course, before I reach top. So it's like reaching the pinnacle.
I just want to add a comment if I could, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my take, right? The meaning of life is the experience itself. So the journey concept is probably false. That's probably the journey is about trying to get a grip of reality. So, you know, but the actual meaning of life is embedded in the experience. And I'll add to that, and I'll use love as the example. So you can't know authentic love intellectually, I don't think, or you can't express it too well intellectually. Its best expression is in the experience itself, and it requires authentic self-awareness. Period. So to me, experience is everything.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So enjoy the ride. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're still going to go on a journey, make sure that you don't forget to enjoy the ride.
Right. Enjoy simple things in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Simple life.
You only have one life.
Well, that's right. No resurrection. That's rubbish. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's okay to die.
We're not assured of tomorrow.
Sorry?
If I ever
We're
came
none of
back,
us
I'd
here.
probably come back as a toilet brush, you know?
You could come back as an author. I wouldn't recommend it, though.
Well, I don't have no idea what that even is.
I like to back as myself.
What did you say, Rob? Wafer? What?
No, sorry, author. Come back. Come back.
Author.
I wouldn't recommend it, though. Freaking great waste of time.
I'll be right back. That beer is kicking in.
All right, John, just don't fall in there.
So what have we concluded, fellows? And ma'am, lady?
I don't know. think we're still trying to figure it all out.
Well, it's easy. It's two wolves.
I've been trying my best, Rob. I've been trying to nurture the good wolf.
Yeah, I hear it. I can sense that.
Oh yeah, you're that guy. You're the wolf guy. I remember
Yeah, that's
you.
me.
Oh, jeez.
I remember you.
Oh, snap. Oh.
I mean, I do believe that all people have a good inclination and an evil one. I truly believe that. I mean,
Well, I sort of concluded. Oh, I was just going to respond to the other guy. On my bloody tombstone, it'll say, "Here lies two wolves," and they might say which one won. But I was going to say, when I now think that those two wolves are actually driven off two primitive instincts. The two survival strategies. I think that's the foundation, and I think Jesus was just such a good interpreter of that reality, and that's why I admire I'll call him the Gnostic Jesus, the righteous teacher from the Essene community, because I think he was just telling that story,
Oh man, don't confuse me again, please.
That's my life.
If I could piggyback on something that you just said, I talk about often how the confusion of what is a sin are often, like I say, confused with either natural drives to spread your DNA, to remain alive, to further on better for the next generation, those kinds of things. And then the side of the other part of it is you always find that it's better when you cooperate. That's also what achieves the rest of those goals. So all those things that you're told are naughty, naughty, bloody, da-di-da, well, there are components that, keep you alive, like eating. For gluttony? You mean I can't eat all I want? Well, you might need to if there's going to be a famine. So I get sad for people when they feel as if they're guilty for something that is a natural inclination. I mean, can you stop yourself from falling asleep when you have to fall asleep, right? Why should it be any different for, having sex or whatever? Because obviously, you can't go with every whim of your desire. So there has to be some sort of a balance, right? And
yeah. Oh, I was just going to say.
How many would go on a whim if they thought the consequences wasn't so bad?
How big of a whim?
Yeah, how big of a whim?
I don't know. How would you decide that? And how, as a society and a culture, do we determine that? What are the gains and losses of those?
I might break into the Playboy Mansion.
I might have a spare key.
We need to get to know each other better.
Are you close to Los Angeles?
Unfortunately, no.
I'm sorry to hear that. You gotta go to Splash.
I live in the Midwest, so.
Oh, okay. I'm from Chicago. Where are you from?
Chicago.
Iowa.
I'm from Northwest Indiana.
What?
Wait.
I said I live in Iowa.
Iowa? I've never been to Iowa.
It's the corn state.
I know. I was always next door to you.
John, the Hangout became Love Boat there, man.
Yeah.
Love Boat? Where's the cocaine? Wait a minute. If we're on the Love Boat, there's got to be some cocaine. Where did it go? You can't tell me it's the Love Boat without some cocaine.
What, Gretchen?
I mean, come on. Somebody laughed. That was the 70s.
Oh.
Come on.
I'm too young to get that joke.
Not 100% on this.
Deplane. What was the show that after Love Boat? Deplane.
Fantasy Island. I know, I'm showing my age.
Thank you.
I don't know what Love Boat is. I don't know what Fantasy Island is.
Fantasy Island.
You're better off. Don't watch TV. Talk to people and read books.
I watch a lot of fucking TV, just not those shows.
Well, you would have to go probably on TV Land or something like that. Fantasy Island. Kato Montalban.
Corinthian leather.
Hawaii
It's just
Five-O.
water, I promise. It's just water.
Jaws.
Is this
What's that?
is this shit still live or?
Oh yes, we're still live. So
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I said
make sure I
cocaine and all
watch what I
that.
say.
okay. Do you
Oh,
guys
well.
see? Do you see? I mean, over here, I see the little box that says live in the upper right. Do you see that?
Yeah, it's live, man.
Oh, I'm on
But
my
I thought
mobile,
at
so
one
I can't
point
see
they'd
it.
cut off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on a
All
mobile
right.
too. But I thought there was a point that you'd cut off because it was too personal or something. You'd said. I thought.
Well, sometimes people, yeah, you know, want to make sure people don't want to say something personal. You want to make sure also some things can't be done on camera. It's against Google.
Right. But
Guidance.
so I was under
What
the
kind of
impression it
things?
turned off.
Yeah, no penis helicopters for one. Let's throw that out.
Penis?
I've got
Don't give me
three in the
ideas.
house. I've got 3 in my house.
What, 3?
should I do?
Let's just try to keep it kosher, guys.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Let's go. Okay, you have.
Just
Oh, okay,
being
never
silly.
mind. Well, anyway, back on topic.
Okay. Topic.
But Jesus, the mission. So Gretchen, in a nutshell, Jesus accomplished his mission. He was successful. Everybody's gonna get saved, and we're all gonna live happily ever after, right? There's no hell. Everything that's bad about us just gets purged away, and it's all good. No? No?
I don't know. I mean,
You
I
don't
think
know?
that there's a struggle. There has to be, working towards what is the best of all of your humanity. And when that's fully expressed, being the image of God, then you're not trying to be a little deity, but you're trying to be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of wisdom that I like from
Trying to be real.
something you said earlier that reminded me something in the scripture, and it's a good piece of wisdom from the Bible, and that was to always count the cost.
Don't
Count
count your chickens before they hatch.
What's that, Jess?
Don't count your chickens before they hatch.
No, I wouldn't. No, I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing.
Jess, is English your first language?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You being funny, Jay.
Don't let the any worshiper get you down.
Don't worry. I have thick skin.
Simply that, I think that saying in the Bible was in the context of when they were building temples and stuff like that, or structures, and
Tower Babel.
count the cost, meaning, what's it going to take to build this thing, and you're going to be able to afford it. What's going to be the outcome? So I think it's a bit of good advice. Any major decision that we're going to decide to do in our lives, we should count the costs, weigh it out, the pros and the cons. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Is that my problem? I don't think before I act. I think that's it.
I think you should feel before you act, and then you'll be able to think about it.
Did you say feel before you act?
I think, yes, because if you feel before you act, then you have something to think about because you know where you stand and what you're interested in or are repelling.
Take care, Prescott. Good hearing from you, man.
Good night.
See you later, Prescott.
Take care, Prescott. Thanks for dropping by, man. Namaste. J-Dubs.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, you've been pretty kind of quiet through all this a little, for the most part. I mean,
I enjoyed listening tonight, man. I'm usually a chatterbox, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't really have anything to say about, the mission of Jesus Christ,
Okay.
I don't know. It sounds kind of like George Bush out on the that ship with the big banner that says "Mission Accomplished." I think it's a little bit too soon, you know.
I was thinking it. It's funny you said that, John, because I was kind of thinking that. And I wanted to bring that up, but it's funny though. Yeah. In Jesus, yeah, mission accomplished. Can God say mission accomplished?
Yeah.
Or is it this? So I mean, yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand, you know. I just don't get, the Christians always say Jesus, when he comes back, he's going to accomplish the things that he said he's going to do. Then why come the first time around, you know? What's the point if he's just going to do it eventually anyway? You know?
All right.
Okay. Who wants to jump on that? That's a good one.
I mean, I can prove that I'm the Messiah. Anyone wants to try it? John, you want to go ahead?
Yes, prove you're the Messiah.
Give me a big one to accomplish. Give me a big one.
What?
A prophecy to fulfill or something.
You want a prophecy, or
yeah,
you want a problem?
Yeah, give it to me. Yeah, anything. Make it big.
Make it big. Peace and prosperity for all.
All right. Well, when I die and come back the second time, I'll do that. All right. All right. There you go. I fulfilled it. Boom.
Okay. Do you watch Goodman Locks?
Yeah, that was a good one from him. I used that before. I actually used that a couple of times, and then I saw him do it. I'm like, geniuses think alike, you know?
Yeah. Do you know about what he lived through before he became Jewish, or went back to being Jewish? Do you know about all that he went through? It's really kind of interesting. If you research.
Oh no! Is there a video actually on that? I would love to watch it.
Yeah. And you see him as this Hindu sadhu.
Oh really?
I'm not joking. Yes. And he lost his head. He just went mad.
Wow. I'm sorry, you broke out on me. You said Hindu something, what? He was a Hindu?
Yeah. He was Hindu, yeah. And people regarded him as a guru. And he went to different ashrams and people tried to follow him, like he could have been a cult leader. I mean, if you read about or even just watch the video, you'll understand. Because he was put in positions where he could have really exerted that kind of, what's the word I'm trying to say? I guess abuse of power.
Dictator.
And then he kind of lost his head. I mean, like all the meditations sort of made him a little bit goofy, and he knew that he wasn't really like in touch with reality anymore, and that was not a good thing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and then there was Judaism, and he was happier than anything. And he never thought he would ever leave any part of that Hinduism or anything. And lo and behold, what do you know?
Wow, I didn't know Hinduism was whack like that, man. Oof.
Oh, dude. Well, this was in the 60s, too, and you got to see, like it goes through the 70s. He starts in the 60s and goes through the 70s. And he had hair that was, like, matte dreaded. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That's
like
what
when
I mean
white people try to do the dreadlocks. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And have you ever seen like a Hindu holy man who has like the white stripes across parts of their face, or they'll have the hair that's a mess, or they'll eat grass for years, or do you know what I'm talking about? It's like that kind of severity that he.
Wow, I'm out there mentally too myself, but I never knew people eat grass over there. Wow. Oof. I know in India they worship rats, but I didn't know they eat grass.
There's all sorts of things.
Who was that person you're talking about?
Gutman Locks is his YouTube.
You don't want to check him out, Rob. He's a rabbi.
Oh, it'd be fun for him. He'd at least get a laugh. Come on.
Probably owns a couple of banks.
In a good-natured way. Not a making fun of way. I think you get a kick out of him.
Yeah. In Judaism, I think there must be a split. Like there's the good guys and the bad guys. I think.
No, they're all the bad. They're all on the bad side.
No.
Rob, I'm gonna have to quote you on it. Let's not mix our words or whatever you like.
No, I'm just going to say it as it is. They're gonna come to the door one day with the guns and that and shoot me, I suppose. But I'm going to have some
Oh
fun.
my gosh. Don't say that. Don't say
Yeah, I don't think Jews would ever come to your doors with guns. That's kind of odd. Maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses will.
Oh, they come actually. I have a bit of fun with those guys. They're interesting. I love the visits.
This might be a good question for J-Dubs. Well, what would they come with? Ninja stars?
What do you do if you have a visit from Mormon missionaries? Do you entertain them, or do you not bother to invite
When the
them?
Mormons
Make
come,
fun of their magic underwear.
I like Mormons. I think they're really good people, actually.
How many wives do you have, Flippy?
You know, when they come to the door, I just say politely, "Look, I'm not gonna be thinking about Mormonism anytime soon. But I appreciate the work you do, and keep feeding the poor like you do. Keep being a good person."
I like to listen to their story.
Well, I already know all the stories, so I try to.
Yeah, but don't you give them another one?
Yeah, I should let them come in next time then. They might have an update. Maybe a new angel came by.
No, but don't you want to save their souls?
Not really. I'm not concerned.
Oh my.
I think
Everyone has to work out their salvation with fear and trembling.
I think you're underutilizing an opportunity. Usually when they stop by my house, I get them to help me with my chores.
Now that is brilliant.
That's thinking.
Put them to work, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if they preach at me as long as they're helping me paint my house.
And they probably would.
Oh yeah, they do. They always do it.
That's very sweet, actually. If you can, it's good to give them a meal, actually, because they don't necessarily have. They fast, a lot.
Nothing caffeinated though.
You gotta be respectful, of course, But yeah, if you can give them a meal, makes their day, because they do spend a lot of time fasting. And when they fast,
does soda
they
and
fast
M&Ms
from
count?
meal. I'm sorry?
Does soda and M&Ms count? Because I think that's what I gave them last time.
Yeah, that might be why they threw eggs at your house.
That. I think they'd love that. Especially if it was like orange pop or something.
Oh, it's soda, not pop. Come on.
I'm from Chicago. I earned that pop.
Northwest Indiana, I call it soda.
That's worse than the English. The English calls it fizzy.
Hey, you know where I grew up? Hartley was in South Bend.
Oh.
Where are you?
Dyer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I grew up around Notre Dame, and then I went to IU later.
Fighting Irish.
Cool. Look for the Irish. And the quietness starts.
I was going to ask John if he was going to ask more questions of, I think, Jesse, or was that it? Jess?
Just Jess.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was doing a brief. I'm trying to get a brief review of Eastern Orthodox. I wanted to.
Everything you read is a lie. No, I'm serious, because unless you have the definitions, it just makes a completely different sentence. And it's just too confusing. Nobody tells you, like, okay, who can I say?
That's usually why I stay away from Brooks altogether, Gretchen,
you know? I'll tell you what. Well, you know how, like Rob was saying, it's an experience, absolutely. Can I name drop channels?
Sure.
Okay, John the Hut Dweller. Gambler. Yusef Altahir. Yusuf Altahir. David P. Witham. They'll tell you.
They're all Eastern Orthodox?
Yeah. And I personally will vouch for Gambler and Yusuf.
So Wikipedia is not a good reference for.
No, they hate us.
He's never
I mean, they're
been
cute
to
from time to time.
Wikipedia
so
isn't good for really anything, to be honest with you.
Not really, not really. I
You can
mean,
get a vague idea.
I think what I'm reading, it's pretty much what you were talking about. It goes in line with what you were saying.
No, I completely misrepresented it. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No,
I'm just
because
teasing.
I'll
I'm
give
being
you,
silly.
let me see if I wait. Let me scroll down.
Gretchen, I wouldn't be surprised if you come into another hangout and you'd be like, "Oh, I was just bullshitting that whole time."
I know. You can tell I'm a person who loves pranks and jokes and yeah, huh?
Oh, I told you, she's a deist. She's not Eastern Orthodox. This is all a
That's
facade.
my husband.
You're a joke. This is a
I
joke.
wish I was my husband because he's really tall and I'm really short. That would be.
So the hubby doesn't actually believe in the same thing you believe, huh?
I hope not.
Oh boy.
Oh, that would be horrible. And I'm not joking. Like, oh no, that would be wrong. No, that would not work.
That'd be boring.
Hello to Idol Smasher.
Good
Hey,
evening.
James.
How y'all doing?
Doing good. I'm glad you dropped by. How you doing?
Me too. But all right. Tired. Pulled a nice long shift today, so glad to be home.
Okay.
Glad to have you around, man.
Yeah.
Never know when there's an idol to smash, you know? Need an expert.
Sometimes,
Man, the other day, man, you went nuts the other day, man. Oof.
Well, I hold back after a few weeks, and sometimes you just got to speak so frankly that it's going to come out like a sledgehammer, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to face facts, and it's like we're dancing around that particular subject, and it was like, man, I just got to, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm smashing it. Let's get out the Gallagher hammer, you know?
I'm afraid to ask, but I want to know, have you repented?
Oh, I got a few other things on my list first I'm working on, so no, I have not.
I hope it's that hangout that you were talking about before. I'm really looking forward to that.
I don't smash. If you ever have to do it hard to me, man, at least give me some foreplay first. That's all I ask.
I'll bring some industrial strength.
All right, fair enough.
And you were the one that said keep it kosher.
See, that's you. You're thinking the bad thoughts.
I know.
Your head's in the gutter, not mine.
I didn't say anything.
Pass the buck, right? Pass the buck, J-Dubs. Listen, me.
I know I can be harsh sometimes, y'all. I didn't mean to. I hope I didn't. Hope it wasn't too bad.
No, it was just refreshing. You're such a nice guy, and then all of a sudden, I see you typing out. It's idol smashing time, like David Banner turned into the Hulk. It was like it was really rough.
Okay, this is confessional time, so you're gonna have to. Since it's confessional time, what happened? Now you got me curious, James.
You were there, weren't you?
I don't know. Refresh my memory. I mean,
I think if I remember correctly, John was smoking a doobie at the time, so I think he was up in La La Land.
You have to party.
I deny any such actions. Hang out.
I neither confirm or deny.
I neither confirm nor deny. Okay, refresh my memory. What happened? What was it? Which part was?
It's
because maybe I didn't think it was too bad. I don't know.
Okay, I have to give you the full thought. Are you ready? All this energy. Just think of the energy it takes to plow a field or whatever, with just organic things like animals and man. Add a little technology. Add a little more technology to fight a 10-year war in 2 days. Add a little more technology to heal quicker. But imagine this where you're so uncomfortable in your own skin, you resort to full-blown cybernetics. You warp the world around you to fit what your mind wants it to be, to the point to where you warp your own body to go along with the condition in your mind that you're afraid to do. And I would say it would behoove someone to learn to live comfortably in their own skin first, than it would to go through all the trouble of this artificial, far out, nasty, evil junk,
Are you talking about? Oh, wait a minute. Is this the chat with the guy talking about transhumanism or something like that?
Yeah, and giving men the ability to, they claim, we don't know if we're going to do it, but in 15 years, men are going to be able to, it says in the ad, gay men are going to be able to have babies. It's like all the straight men can't do it now. In fact, my wife would appreciate that, I'm sure. Yeah, and I thought all this far out crap because people have a hard time living in their own skin. It's more of a spiritual condition. And I was just, at the time, it was all about dancing around it, and it's not it's a body part, it's not a fetus. I blew up. Sometimes, you just gotta, this is it. I gotta be honest, and it's gonna hurt.
Who's that woman that said that the planets don't exist?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Who was that woman that said the planets don't exist?
I think you're talking about Shannon.
Shannon, yes, she has some really wild, crazy.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wait,
The stars were angels, or fallen angels.
I thought it was the Wizard of Oz.
So Shannon actually believes like in the firmament, like the dome.
I guess so, but yeah, but she believes the stars are actually angels, fallen angels.
The Torah warns us about this. The Torah tells us that don't worship the stars, the planets, the heavenly bodies. Don't attribute divinity to them. I mean, that was explicit. It's like, okay, I'm not going to think that up there is, I mean, it says right there in Torah, right there in the Bible. And yet here we have, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the Babylon experience. Or influence.
Yeah, Idol Smash. I don't think you have met Rob yet, have you?
How you doing, Rob? I might have met you.
He knows Raw.
He's a what?
He knows Raw. He knows you. You guys know each other. We've been in chat before.
Yeah.
How you doing, Rob? Good evening.
Good, mate. How are you?
Peachy.
So James, Idol Smash, I have to
get it out.
Idol Smash, I have to give you the questions of the day.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
What is the definition of success to you?
Everything.
Oh, come on.
Everything is a succession from something else. On
What?
a personal level, I have to say the same thing when it's going to sound cheesy, but when I look around the world, I see everything I need. And I feel that so far everything works. It's succeeding. Whatever it is, it's working. It's working well, I think.
Well, it could work well. It's not really well.
Overall, on the big, huge, grand cosmic picture, it's working itself out. Now, a little close to home.
Yeah.
What is success?
To you, what is success? What does
Just
it look like?
say experience.
I see a kind, happy child. I see good children of mine, and they're kind to strangers, and they help you out, and they have good hearts, and that's, I think, I could define a personal success that way.
Yeah.
Well, that was certainly a different answer than I got from others.
That's a good one. That's good.
That was good.
I don't think, did I ask Cameron what was success to you?
What's up?
Hello, McFly. You still there?
Did somebody say my name?
Yeah, Cameron was asking you. I don't think I got to ask you because the question of we started out with well before this chat, but anyway, what is success to you?
Oh God. That's a big fucking question.
Give us a big fucking answer then.
I mean, it's a hard question to answer. I think success is you being happy with your life, but I think that should be within certain bounds. Like if your goal is to be a serial killer, you you obviously shouldn't try to achieve that. But you know, if your goal is to be CEO of a company, go do it. But if your goal is just to be a everyday person, go do it. If your goal is to be a whatever, whatever makes you happy, and if it's something that's productive, then I think that is successful. Just being yourself, and being happy with what you do. But when I say that, I say it within certain bounds. Obviously, there's always
Well, the question was for you. What is it? What is success to you? Not like in a general idea for everyone else. I'm just saying for you.
I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure that out. So I wouldn't know. I'm just maybe in a couple years I'll know. Come back to me then.
Okay.
See what happens.
And then is it you going through you in school, college, or something like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going to college in I'm waiting. I'm gonna be going to college in like a year and a half or so.
Okay. So because I'm assuming that when you say ask you in a couple of years, your idea of success is it finishing education? Is it getting a certain kind of job? Is it something else? Is it something more of a philosophical thing, a spiritual thing? Is it a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both. I'd like to figure out what this whole fucking life thing is about, but I don't have any high hopes for figuring that out, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to have a successful career. That's always been a goal of mine since I was a young kid. So.
Well, because a lot of the answers I was getting, most of the answers I was getting, and was along the lines of uh, doing something you love to do, something you have a passion for.
Yeah, I would agree with that because, yeah, I mean, I would say that. I would say doing something you love. I try to say happiness, but I'm a pretty cynical bastard, so I don't know if happiness is necessarily fully achievable. But I would like to do something I enjoy and hopefully make a career out of it. So because so many people are just going through the motions and they don't really get to do what they're passionate about.
Yeah. And that is what I would encourage, and this seems seems to have been the main thought here is doing something you love doing if you can and eventually turning it into a career.
Yeah.
And also helping others through that as well. And this seems to be somewhat the answer for success. Not about making X amount of dollars, or having a trophy wife, or and like you said, not going into a job that you hate. I can tell you from personal experience, I was in a job for 20 years. Good part of that 20 years, I hated the job.
Yeah.
I hated it. I took it because I was told, hey, this is the kind of job you go for a union security job and everything, and yeah, making good money, and I had the benefits and all that stuff, but it was monotonous. It was not what I wanted to do, and so I eventually left and decided to start doing what I love to do, and I'm even though I started late in life, it's probably some of the best years right now for me. But it's, you know, I hate to see anyone else have to delay their success or their happiness because of too many other influences around, you know, that are telling you otherwise, you know. So yeah, man, know what you dream, know what you like to do, Cameron, and go for it. Just keep doing what you love doing, and it'll come together. That's how I see it, man. Be happy and help others through it too.
Yeah.
I want to second that third proverb. I started late in life at a career that I wanted to do when I was like, 11 and 12, and I just kind of lost track of it. And I tell anybody here, just go for your dream. Know your dream and then go for it. Don't deny yourself. Don't let that I can't do it, or they're all going to laugh at me, or I'll never make any money in that. That's the evil inclination talking. Ignore that. Follow your dream, man. Definitely.
Here, here.
Cheers. Happy Sunday night or Monday morning, y'all.
Can I get an amen and an hallelujah?
All right.
All right, what I'm going to do is, at this point, I guess, since we've gone 3 hours, I think that's long enough, I'm going to stop the broadcast and let the after party begin. You don't have to worry about things being live.
Oh boy.
So again, anybody who was watching, thanks for joining the conversation. Put your comments below in the comment section. Check the channel. Anyone here want to plug their channel?
Yes, me.
Sure. Go ahead, Cameron. What's
Check
your
out
channel? What's it
check out
about?
my channel. Do it. Check out my channel. Check it out. Do it. No, I don't know. I'm not so good at this whole plug thing.
Just give me the name of your channel.
It's Cam is Awesome Universe.
Ah, that's cool.
Cameron Awesome Universe?
No, it's just CAM. Cam is Awesome Universe because that's my nickname.
Oh, okay. Cam is Awesome Universe. All right.
I'd like to plug mine. If that's
Sure,
okay.
go ahead.
Okay. I'm Gretchen is a squirrel. Catal is Ruth. Ruth is Rachel, and Yoga Angel 7. If you go on Gretchen is a Squirrel right now, you'll see the story about the Yeti and a big apology that I made, and I cried.
Yeah, crying always gets the views.
Anyone else want to plug away? Rob, you want to plug away a YouTube channel?
Well, I don't know that I've actually named it, so I was just actually looking at that option now.
Okay.
I don't know how you'll find me.
For everyone watching, you can just look at the comment section. I'll probably post a comment. You can check me out that way. I'm sure if everyone in this room in the Hangout leave a comment down below. And
Yeah.
So do a search, everybody, for Rob Beasley. And probably if you want, I guess they can get in touch with you, Google Plus, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and all I'm really interested in people having a read of the book and trying to push the debate, shut down religion, get all of the elite into the courts, get all the resources back that they stole. That's about it for me.
Okay, so check out Rob Beasley. Rob Beasley, Beasley.
Correct.
James, Idol Smasher, promote a YouTube channel or anything, or?
The Idol Smasher, and don't watch any of it that's got this face on it. Watch everybody else. They have a lot better things to talk about than I do.
Okay. J-Dub, Cerebrus, Jess, and you guys?
Sure. Feel free to go figure out who my other channel is, because I don't want it associated with this one.
I hear you.
You can check me out over at Norse Invasion. I sometimes do some hangouts once in a while.
All right. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody, and we're gonna go have an after party. Namaste.